Right here.
Hello and welcome to PDC. We are going to kick it off today with Mr. Tom Martin on A Minute for Planning.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Just a few things that have come in. We have received a site plan proposing the construction of 16 townhomes on Old Courthouse Turnpike, construction of a parking lot for the Compassion Church of the Nazarene on Wards Ferry Road. Also, TRC is reviewing a site plan proposing the removal of the roof system at the Clay Street Reservoir and filling it with soil. Ultimate plans long-term is to turn that into some form of outdoor recreation area. Also looking at a plan for the construction of gateway signs at Tyriana Pleasant Valley neighborhood. Reviewing a site plan for Dantas Properties, construction of a 30,000 square foot warehouse over on Clover Place. Received a rezoning application at 612 12th Street and 609 Dunbar Drive, proposing the conversion of 2 historical warehouses into 28 dwelling units. And also a big one is a subdivision plat proposing the creation of 113 single-family lots at 1301 Grays Mill Road. Access for that would be off of Tomahawk and Valley Dale Drive. So things are starting to thaw out, pick up a little bit. So that's a minute for planning. Any questions? Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. In our informational items today, we have streetlight outages reporting. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Mr. Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We have a presentation on all things streetlights today. I know this is a presentation that is in the Vice Mayor's wheelhouse. He has been out and about looking for streetlight outages and reporting back to us what he has found. So we're lucky today to have our Public Works Director, Gaynell Hart, who is first going to walk you through some of the city's processes. And the Vice Mayor had asked a number of questions. We're going to do our best to address those questions throughout this presentation. And then we're very lucky today to have our representatives from Appalachian Electric Power, APCO. Did I get it right? Which is it? Okay. Rob Mann and Heather Marks, who are going to walk you through their process when Gaynell wraps up. So when Gaynell wraps up, guys, I'd ask that you come join us here at the table. But with that, over to Gaynell.
Good afternoon. Our purpose today is to hear about our current process for reporting street light outages to Appalachian Power. And this resulted from obviously concern from Councilmember Deemer as well as citizens about the number of street light outages that we have and the perceived wait times for those. Talk a little bit about our current process, and I'm going to talk in terms of going to try to go through and answer your questions, Councilmember Deemer. There's some that just totally have to be answered by Appalachian Power, and they're prepared to do that. But I'll go through what we can answer from the city side. So we have over 10,600 streetlights that are owned and maintained by Appalachian Power. It's about $1.2 million budgeted in the engineering budget in Public Works to pay for those streetlights. These are basically, this slide is basically an answer of your first 3 or 4 questions, Mr. Deemer, is what is the city's current process for identifying, reporting streetlight outages? Which department or staff role is responsible for tracking them? And are outages identified primarily through inspections, or how are they identified? So I'm going to go through all that. Streetlights are governed by a franchise agreement with Appalachian Power, which is up for renewal. So we will be able to negotiate with them back and forth on this item. Streetlight outages can be reported a couple different ways. Citizens can go to the APCO website and put in their address or a poll number. And so those are going to go directly to Appalachian Power without our knowledge. So they can go on that website and report them themselves. They also can report them through our Citizen First, either phone number or a work order. Then the Citizen First employees input them into the APCO website for them to have to get into their system. We also occasionally will do very limited surveys on streetlights. So if we do a limited survey, it's going to be because of safety concerns, maybe something the police department brings up, or a number of complaints that we've had in that area. So we do streetlight outage surveys. It is definitely Public Works staff that coordinates with Appalachian Power on this, on the priorities that have been reported directly to the city. So if it's been reported directly to Appalachian Power, we're not going to know that. We're not going to have that information. But I will say that our staff coordinates with Heather Marks probably 2 or 3 times a week on streetlights and where we are with things and trying to coordinate things. So it's a very fluid relationship in talking through what we have and what needs to be done. Really, the best way for citizens, the piece of information that is very needed is the pole number to correctly identify the street light that's at, or an exact address. And we have done some public relations within our own social media and various places to try to let citizens know this is the information that helps them to fix the correct street light. So, because they're trying to do this during the day and they need good information to be able to identify the proper street light. So that's a very important piece of this. Majority of the repairs are just replacing lamps or fixtures, and we are moving to LED lamps. So that is something that they have been working on us with, and at times even replacing entire corridors to get them up to speed. So that is something that we are working on together. There are other types of repairs for streetlights. We have streetlights that are struck by vehicles, and those primarily are the decorative ones in particular seem to be struck the most, and they are an Appalachian Power responsibility. However, that's not just as simple as replacing a fixture or a lamp in a streetlight. The other kind of repairs that we have are base and conduit repairs. If a streetlight has a base, it is the city's responsibility to ensure that everything to that base, that they have power to that base. So we would send out an electrical contractor and have them look at that and make sure there's power to the base if we need to. Those are very few and far between. It's really mostly streetlight outages that are, for the most part, fairly simple. So, Mr. Deemer, you asked, do we have an internal tracking system or a dashboard or that kind of thing? And other than just what we have in our systems here, we do not have a dashboard or a tracking system. So when we get a street light, we turn it in, and other than our daily coordination or weekly coordination with Heather, we don't know what's been fixed. We do some spot checks. Engineering staff goes out and does spot checks, but we certainly can't check every single light as it's turned in. So that's how we try to manage that. There's really no electronic feedback loop, and that certainly would be nice. I just don't know that it's possible, but it's something we can talk about in the future and see if we can't improve that process. Mr. Deemer, you asked about us getting credit, and there are credits on the bills for the streets lights that are not functioning. So we have been receiving credit if it is reported to APCO or it's reported by us and it is not functioning. It is actually, we receive credit based on the number of days that the street light is out. So we are receiving credit for non-functional street lights. And that is basically the questions that I feel that we can answer without having APCO at the table. So if there's no questions about that, I will ask Heather and Rob to come up and try to answer some of the rest of the questions.
And Heather and Rob, if you could introduce yourselves,
Sure.
trying to get council and anyone watching in YouTube land a little bit of information about who you are and what you do for APCO.
My name's Rob Mann. I'm with External Affairs for Appalachian Power Company. My home office is here in Lynchburg on Mayflower Drive. Been with the company about 13 years now. So as part of my role at External Affairs, I work with the community leaders and also in the communities with nonprofits. We have an Appalachian Power Company Foundation, so I work with folks on grants and that sort of thing too. And I'll introduce Heather Marks.
I'm Heather Marks, as he said. I'm the account manager for Appalachian Power for the city. So I am the go-to person for all of the departments, not just on streetlights, of course, but anything projects going on, any kind of outages that are going on, to support and communicate with what needs to be done for the city and our side of things. I've been with the company going on 3 years now.
So kind of starting this off, I do want to impress upon everyone here that APCO leadership is taking this extremely seriously. When the news media report went out in January, our COO, Aaron Walker, president of the company, took notice. Our distribution operations took notice, even our CEO in Columbus, Ohio for AEP. So Appalachian falls under AEP, American Electric Power. So safety is our number one goal. Before we do any work, we have a safety briefing. And before we deliver any electricity to anybody generating electricity, safety is our number one aspect of things. So we understand the importance and why this is a concern to the city. I do want to also say that the city's been a great partner. It's been a very collaborative effort, kind of talking through these measures. So just want to relay that information as well, too, as far as the working relationship. When this first was brought to my attention on the number of outages, it was the first week in January. At that time, we had approximately 460 in the system. And the number, I did receive some more information, Gaynell. So we actually have, the number that I have is 11,016 streetlights under the program. So, out of that 460, that's about 4.2% of our streetlights that were out at that time. We did take notice. So kind of how we got there. We were knocking out streetlights pretty well as far as repairs and maintenance, because I know, Kirk, you and I had some conversations early in the summer on timeliness of repairs. So right there before Christmas, we did have a contract crew that took some vacation time. We had some of our internal crews were on vacation too. So we did get a little bit behind there in December, which kind of made that 460 number a little bit higher right there at the first of the year. We have brought, since then, the measures we've taken, just to kind of explain backstory, two dedicated Davis H. Elliott crews. They're stationed they work directly out of our service center on Mayflower Drive, and they're working nonstop on these streetlights till we get everything in control. Also, our internal field crews are dedicated 1 day a week to streetlight program. So from that time frame, and I've got a nosebleed. I'm sorry. Anybody got a napkin? Great. Thank you so much. I apologize. I would, yeah, I'll talk about that later. But so since that time frame to date, there's currently 137 streetlights out today. That was information this morning. So I know other reports are coming in as well. So this is a fluid number. It's going to change daily, as things can go out at any time. And as I reported, we're working towards those. Our current goal, and so that 137, that's about 1.24% of the lights that are currently out at the moment. And I'm just going to go through the questions that I had. So as far as the expected turnaround time, our goal is 30 days or less. Thank you so much. 30 days or less. Currently, we're averaging about 13 days if it's a street light and it's just a regular repair, but it's about 22 days if we need to order material type thing, something more complicated. Some of the data that we did learn from the past, so we did pull a 13-month report, and the data over that, it fluctuated throughout the whole time, but the average number of days was 77 with a median of 59. So that's a little bit skewed because, as Gaynell said, it might be some work that has to take place, whether it's underground work. We need some additional resources to work on the wires underground to fix those lights. And it could be like we might need a permit, which I talked to our right-of-way folks, and I think when we need flagging instructions with the city, that's averaging about 14 days, which isn't long. That's really good, to get those for traffic control safety measures. So, there are things that kind of add to some of that time in there and where we are. There was a question regarding the longest ticket, and there are, and I'll go through the stats, some tickets over 90 days, which do have some extenuating circumstances on those. Running through my questions. So Gaynell touched on this. The city is not billed for streetlights that are reported as non-functional. They're in the franchise agreement, the billing issues, section 2D, I believe. Section 2D, it references that. So once a ticket is created in our system, that streetlight is investigated. So they put an investigation on the account, which it's a large account with the city. And so that's how we track that when the streetlight is actually out. Now, once the work order is completed, that's when the credit is made on the next month's bill. So it's going to be, you're going to be seeing data from the previous month or maybe even 2 months ago if it was one of those cases where it was over 60 days in queue to get repaired. So the calculations, like I say, you'll see that on the bills come. I apologize. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, but you okay.
All right. So they are calculated and reported on the next month's bill. Let's see. So what I did pull up from our data from 13-month period, it has been a credit of about $11,000 over that 13-month period that's been seen based on the number of outages throughout the year. Going to, so monthly reporting and oversight, that it seems like it'd be a simple thing to do. It's a little trickier, just talking through our systems and how they work to pull all that data. There are things that we can do as far as current outages and average repair times. So we can assist with that. I think I'd like to ask if we could do it maybe a quarterly report or biannually, something like that, instead of a monthly, just for resources and times and just trying to create a system, exactly the information that y'all would like to see. And so we can have a good understanding of how to track that data. We did have to pull in some folks that are really specified for data gathering. Our systems don't necessarily talk to each other as well as they could. So it was a lot of effort that went into to get the data that we did for this request. So number of functioning, one of the questions was number of functioning lights versus non-functioning. And as I mentioned, that's going to change. So all the time, as of January, the first week in January, we had 460 lights out, and so that would have been about 10,500 functioning at that point in time.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
Hold your head back and pinch your nose for a couple of seconds.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, hold your head back, pinch your nose for a
I
couple of
apologize.
I'm gonna give Kurt a hard time for giving you a nosebleed.
I know. Yeah, it happened. I stayed in the hotel room. It was in Richmond last week. Very, very dry heat. And that's when it irritated my nose real bad. Yeah. And
just pretend like you're looking up at lights that are all working.
Yep. Yeah. I just stare up there. So average. So there was a graph that I do have as far as stats on 30 days. So currently, and this data is a little bit old. This was from 2 days ago that I had. At that time, we had a total of 151 lights out. As far as days, so we had 60 that were in 0 to 30 days, 30 to 60 days, we had 21 reports. And then in the 60 to 90 days, we had 7, and over 90, we had 62. Now, I did learn out of those 62, there is some underground work that needs to take place, and that's going to clean up a large number of those because it's like a whole street. Once they fix it, then it'll repair numerous lights along that roadway there.
That's our city, the underground to get the. power
No,
to-
that underground work that was described to me was air work. We had to get, so with the storm, that was a kind of a stumbling block for us. You know, I think everybody had some issues with ice. So we did have to we had to allocate crews with those, knock on wood, we were lucky here. We didn't have many outages here. As far as Southwest Virginia, we did have to allocate some resources to far Southwest Virginia to help with outages out there. So we do have that underground crew that's back in town now that's going to work on that and get that section knocked out pretty quick. And as far as the preferred method of reporting, we prefer that they come to our website. That way it's already tracked. Some of the data, and it's critical. What Heather's working with the city is just making sure we get appropriate data. Because if we get a report that streetlights out on Jefferson Street, we don't know where that is. You know, and it's time consuming. Our crews typically work in the day. So they have to take some extra measures. We do have folks that are going out in the evenings and looking at them. So if there's a ticket, sometimes they'll scale out in the nighttime and they can mark additional poles. So lights that aren't even in the system at the moment, they'll take extra time to take those measures and clean up whole sections at a time when they can. So that is one avenue that we're looking at to try to take care of those. If there is not a pole number on there, then as accurate information on the address as we can get is going to be critical. Because some of our decorative poles, as I understand it, are stickers and they're at the bottom and they can get rubbed off, knocked off. So internally, we've seen that as a process improvement where we can have air guys, you know, if they know they're out there working to make sure as accurate pole numbers on there at the moment. So that is one effort that we're taking internally to make sure we do that. The call center is always available. That's the easy way to report a ticket too, because really having that key information is what we need as far as where that actual pole is to get this done. So.
And to kind of piggyback off of what he was saying about these, so Brad Butler and I with the city have been working for over a year now on multiple things. Brad will go out and do surveys and come back to me with ones that he has seen that have been out. And it's been, you know, it's a little bit easier said than done because I have to take a look in the system and try to see if I can track if we have anything on those areas or those roads or streets that he's giving me already existing. So because what we don't want to do is put a lot of double orders in there where we're getting servicers going out there chasing their tails. So Brad and I have been working to try to see, okay, are they already in there? If not, can I go ahead and manually myself put in some orders? So done many manual orders myself over the last year and a half with him to work on this. But the other thing that we've been looking at too more recently that I've been trying to work on is we're seeing that it's like a combination of both. There are some that are going across from Citizens First, and he's giving me those, and I can track the order and find it all day long and send it back to him on his spreadsheet. And then there's some that I'm not able to find for some reason. And I don't know where the breakdown is as far as going from the Citizens First side to our side, but I'm not seeing them. So there's a handful right now, probably close to 30 alone, that I'm helping him to try to go track in our mapping to figure out which ones they are if they didn't give specific poll numbers, so I can still try to get an order in for them. So that's something else that him and I have been trying to intervene on with these orders, just to make sure that we know there's something in the system for this, you know, to clarify it.
But I'll give Heather a lot of credit too. She's been working. Well, I've initially met with some city folks in January of 25. And like I say, they've been, as Gaynell said, a couple times a week in communication. So as we're working diligent to kind of come up with a good process improvement, you know, so we understand where those tickets are, you know, the outages are, and can really get a clear handle on all this. So our goal currently is to have everything zeroed out by the end of the month. With the crews, we can, good days, we can get 40 lights done a day repaired. So, you know, we've got a lot of folks really heading up this effort. And once we get it down, then, and it's not stopping. That's what I want to press. You know, we're here to serve and, you know, and take care of the public. And we're going to continue on this path of keeping everything in check. So.
Rob and Heather, thank you so much. And I lived in California for a time, nosebleeds constantly, but I am going to give Kurt a really hard time for you. But I also do want to thank Kurt for bringing this to the attention. I think this is what government's supposed to do. It's that process improvement that you keep referring to, and being able to bring everyone to the table to have this conversation and figure out what is the best reporting method to streamline some of those elements that were cause for concern is great. So thank you for coming, Kurt. Thanks for bringing this up. Open it for questions. I know Dr. Wilder had question, comment.
Well, thank you for coming today. Really appreciate it. Just a question as far as the difference between public property and business property, because I had just experienced with my property, my business property, that we had two street lights out. One was in our parking lot, and the other was on the street side.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to pay for the parking lot one, I believe. And then the one on the street side, it wasn't out. The trees were covering it up. So we had to get a person to cut the trees down. So I don't know if people realize that they're responsible for that.
They probably don't. Yeah. So that service, so the service drop, Appalachian Power is responsible for the main lines, but that drop to the house or a street light, that would be on the private property owner's responsibility.
What's the difference between, you said, the outages on the street lights versus on a private property? Is it the same number of outages as far as response
So
time
if it's
period?
private property, that the person that's paying the bill would need to report that.
Sure.
Yeah, because that happens sometimes when people
Right.
report a light out, but it's not in the city
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
So unless that person asks for us to fix that, we're not going to, because
Right.
some people don't want them, type thing. So,
And I can say from my point of view, I probably hear more about street lights compared to the private or what we would call outdoor lights. Now that could be multiple reasons, but I would say there's probably quite a bit more street lights compared to the outdoor lights. So you probably are going to hear more about those. But like he said, generally, yes, they're submitted the same way, and we put them in as the same type of, it won't go on the same account. It'll go in through as a repair request still, but directly to that person's account to address and repair those lights is the way it's physically in the
Is
system.
that repair time at the same amount of time span normally?
Yes, sir. I'd say probably so. That the way we try to keep an eye on those as well, the way they go through as repairs. Correct.
sometimes the private lights go much quicker because we have that specific information. It's tied to their
Yes,
account,
that's a good point,
and we
too.
can see that.
Right.
I did get that little tidbit from their distribution inspector today.
That wasn't my experience, but okay, at least I know from now on.
That wasn't yours.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hate to say this, but I don't want to talk about it. We had to wait several months, but
Okay.
it is what it is. But at least I talked to our mayor. He talked about getting the account number, the number on the pole. That was about 2 years ago. Probably you mentioned that was about 2 years ago. Yeah, but we finally got it done, so I'm glad for that. So I didn't know that until he told me about the number,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize the pole had a number, so I didn't even pay attention to that till he told
Yes,
me.
sir.
I'm raising my
That's
hand,
it.
not the chair.
That's okay. Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Okay.
it. Yes, ma'am.
I want to piggyback off some of that because one of the things I was wondering as you all were talking and as Dr. Wilder was sharing some of his experience is about like a one pager that essentially gives people the step-by-step of what's needed, because it sounds like maintenance is reporting driven and there's a breakdown on the reporting side. And then, I mean, you all are talking all the time, but if there's like a spreadsheet or something where it's tracking on both sides so that as crews are out, we can confirm back and forth, that cuts down on y'all's man hours. So I don't know.
So we
Like a
do, our
one-pager?
corporate communications does have some information out there, and we're working on a video with the
Yes.
city.
Yes, we've
We're
already had
also
that discussion.
working on a video for our own use, but we do have some information out there. And we have been targeting a lot throughout the storms and that sort of thing with one pagers, but absolutely, we can get a one pager out there and post it on our Facebook accounts and everything too, social medias.
And I think we've published similar information on how to report street outages or streetlight outages and kind of what that whole process is in the past as well. But I think, to your point, the more we hit, this is such a a common problem, and it's never your problem until it's your streetlight. So I'm not paying attention to whatever gets published unless it impacts me. So the more frequently we can make people aware, the better.
And I'll throw this out to you, Greg, and we can. I know Enterprise Fund as far as the water resources side, but they're doing a lot when it comes to the lead testing. So what are some ways that we can piggyback some of these outreach efforts so that it's driving down cost and simplifying things for people? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out to you as for consideration. Do you have anything,
Yes.
Mr. Deemer?
I had something I was going to say at the beginning and I didn't, but I'll say it now. I want to start by thanking Appalachian and city staff for what they have been doing here and for the work that I've seen physically underway. I recognize the crews have been out in the field and the progress is being made, and I appreciate those efforts. I really do. You were very responsive initially when I would call in one or two or three, and I recognize that. I think what sort of was eye-opening is when I started looking a little more in depth, and it was in response to a citizen who said, "Come over here to this neighborhood," and I went over and started doing my Google map and dropping pins and found 45 in that one neighborhood. So that showed more of a systemic issue, a problem that needed to be addressed. And I appreciate you allowing me to address it. This was not supposed to be a gotcha moment. This was supposed to be let's all make things better and improve moment. And I've already seen some of that, so I want to recognize it. At the same time, the reason the issue arose to this level is because citizens are experiencing and have, at least in the past, real widespread outages and lack of visibility into exactly when or if these lights would be ever fixed. My goal today was simple: to make sure we understand the scope of the problem and the pace of the repairs, which you've answered a lot of that, and how we can improve accountability and communication with the public. I feel like a lot of my questions have been answered. I found, what did I find? I found 168 plus 128 lights out for a total of about 300 lights out. So you're saying 460. So that says that there's 140 that weren't on my list, given the math. The only places I really went, I started Ward 3, obviously. I'm Ward 3 councilman. Then I moved over to Ward 4 over into Enterprise Drive area. And I didn't go off the roads a whole lot, not even in Ward 3. I didn't really go off the main roads. And then I went downtown to Ward 2 and a lot of the Main Street and a lot of the main thoroughfares that are downtown, and added them. And that ended up being the area that had, kind of the most lights out. So ultimately, I think there's a little disconnect in the number that I pinned on the map. So I'm going to go back and just see, I can very easily drive my map again and make sure they've been taken care of. And that kind of gets at the root of my concern, is that I want to make sure that, we can track this. And what I asked, because I remember using it, was there was an app for the phone that the city had at one point that worked pretty well. And I used it successfully to report potholes, lights out, and it would actually show when the pothole was filled or the light was turned back on. And I asked our city manager basically, what happened to that app. And I think, what they struggled with was there were some long-term outages that didn't look good. And that's what he expressed to me. And he wanted to make sure we didn't, give a bad impression of the fact that these really weren't standard outages. There was a major issue, maybe underground power, something more significant that's going to take more time. But I don't want to stop reporting just because the picture is not pretty. I think I did a little bit of research, and I've sent 2 or 3 apps that other localities have successfully used, online applications, to keep track of things and show when it's done, not just when it's reported, which is all our system really does right now, is we know it's been reported. You've given us some numbers on what's done. But I think there needs to be that accountability, both on the city and Appalachian side. I got a quick question at this point. In all the localities AEP represents, are there localities that have an app that they can recommend to us that works successfully? Because if we need to invest in some kind of technological system, then I would be an advocate for that and the expenditures that it might be involved to do it more efficiently. I think having multiple sources of input is causing duplication. It's
Yeah.
frustrating. It gives you data entry errors, which you've mentioned, all kinds of things. So is there any best practices out there that you've seen?
I will have to dig into that, Kurt.
Yeah,
I don't know. But I can reach out to our team throughout our system and see what is available out there as far as any type of app. I know and it's something we'll discuss with their Corpcom folks and see, because their outage map, we do have the estimated time of restorations, so I don't know if something can be integrated for a streetlight program.
That may be on
something-
us.
Yeah.
It really
something-
might be on us.
yeah.
It needs to be integrated with you for sure. But I've brought it up to the city manager and suggested some different applications that I know are being used in other localities, New York and other places that have a whole lot more lights than us. Of course, maybe it's cost prohibitive to have that kind of application. Sometimes that's the case. But if they're even the app that was on the phones, I thought was better at letting people know when it was done. And that's really when the citizen's happy.
Right.
Not when it's been reported, but when they can see that it's done by looking at it, or they can see that it's done by the app. And I think I would love to go back to the old app, honestly, because I felt it worked well, and we probably paid a lot for that app to do that. And I think maybe we should consider doing that if that's the most cost effective way to get that kind of information. I really want to know when it's finally repaired. And I did my pin dropping. I don't know how accurate it was.
So
I'm sure there was mistakes in my mapping, but it's down to about 5 feet. I think you could actually on the satellite view see your light, and you could see my pin on your light. So that's pretty hard to miss. That's an actual satellite picture of your street light and my pin on top of the street light. So I didn't get a lot of numbers. I will tell you, getting numbers is problematic. Every time I went out, it took 2 people. That's my experience. One to drive safely, and one to write down the location and drop the pin, basically, on the Google map. I don't know what Brad's process is. I hope he's doing it safely, because I tried to do it on my own and it was not good. Okay, so I think it is labor intensive to keep track of this, but some kind of system like that where I can go back and change that light to a busted light to a fixed light gives me instant gratification. And that's the kind of thing I know citizens are wanting as well.
Give me 2 seconds.
Sure.
I just want to do a check-in. Are we able to move the second informational item to next meeting as we discussed, and include that with corridors?
Yes, I think we
No,
want to
that's
make
great.
sure that we get to the safety action plan, as that
Yep.
requires a vote.
Nope.
But I think
I'm
we can
tracking with
definitely,
you.
definitely
We
move the,
discussed rolling that over
Yep.
previously, so we're good.
But I appreciate the time y'all are giving me, and I'm trying to keep it quick here. I love the information we got today, and your commitment to addressing these outages from the staff side and from Appalachian. What matters most to our residents is not just effort, but results that they can see, in a system that they can trust. My hope is that working together, we can work toward a modern technology-driven solution. Our power things report in when, and our water things report in. I wonder if there's smart streetlights that report in when they're having problems. That's something I'd love to hear more about. Might be too expensive, but I love technology solutions to track completion. Transparency will build confidence with our citizens. And confidence matters when people are walking, driving, and living in our neighborhoods, especially at night. It's a safety issue. I look forward to continued updates and measurable progress. I'm committed to working collaboratively with y'all and staff to make sure the problem gets fully resolved. And I loved when you said, 0 by the end of the month.
That's
Is that
what we're
pretty much what I heard? So that sounds wonderful. And I think you addressed almost all of my questions. So again, thank y'all for being here today.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything?
Yes. I believe I got an email. I reported a street light out, and I got an email saying that the light had been repaired when it was repaired.
You did. Okay.
I did. It was 2015 Tulip Street a couple months ago, and once it was replaced, I got the email.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So if it's something that I'm tracking, I can do that. Did it come from me?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah. So I try to be attentive to
Yeah.
council. So that Yes, if it is something, we will do our best to notify, if we know about it. And one thing I do want to say too is if it is a priority type thing, we do set attention to those things too. We over the year that I've been in this role, we've had several instances where things were more of a priority, and those things are addressed very quickly.
And also, if y'all could do a mailer or something to the residents of Lynchburg saying, this is where your pole number is located.
That'll be in that video.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be in a video that we can we'll share with the city, and we'll have all that information on how to do that. And there's some information. Roanoke did one 3 or 4 years ago. Our folks in West Virginia did one. It's the West Virginias are a little bit different. They're more just the wooden pole with the Cobra lights, where we have a lot of decorative different. There's multiple different versions of streetlights in the city of Lynchburg. So, which is a little bit challenging for a storeroom to keep all the materials that it
Inventory.
needs. Yeah, inventory on that. So,
Inventory is definitely another, time frame consideration on them.
Thank you. Dr. Wilder had one more question here.
Quick, I know we have time constraints. Mr. Hart, thank you again for your staff and your team for working addressing these issues. I know with reduced budget and reduced staff members, I know you're working all over the place. So I appreciate your staff and working diligently. Question, you mentioned the contract is up for renewal. What is that time period?
That franchise agreement is woefully out of date. I think it got renewed maybe in the 90s or something like that. So we need to sit down and
the
start
terms that I saw, we
negotiation.
did update it somewhere in the 2020 timeframe for
Okay.
another additional 5 years. But we're working to have a draft to city council or city staff to review with the attorney in the next month or so. I brought this up, in December, that it expires in August, I believe is the date. So we'll be working towards that agreement.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
You get great tours of the small nuclear reactors. I'll also put that plug in.
There'll be more to come on that. Yeah,
Good.
we'll be
I
happy
enjoyed
to
that a lot.
show y'all around more.
I've got one thing for staff. There is a dark corner on the expressway, and I don't know why. There's no lights. It's not that they're broken. They just don't exist. And it's right there after you pass the mall on your left, and it's that real sharp turn in the expressway that heads toward Timberlake. And from basically the mall all the way to Timberlake, there's almost no lights. What's the history on that? There's got to be a history on why it's dark, because that's a safety issue on that sharp curve in the expressway.
I don't know that I can give you the full history. All I know is that they have never had lights on that section of the expressway.
I
don't
figure
know if
power
they were
must
put
not
in-
be
I don't know if they were
accessible
put
or
in
something.
when they were originally
Every part of the
spread.
expressway is lit. That one.
Well, Desmond Doss also is like that.
Okay. Well, I'm still getting used to calling that the expressway. But there's just such a sharp curve there. And at night, it goes from very well lit to very, very dark.
It's a lot, yes, sir.
So I don't know. Just an observation.
Thank you, Mr. Deemer. We're going to forego the next agenda item, put it to next PDC with corridor overview, and move on to general business. So, Mr. Patrick.
We have the Central Virginia Safety Action Plan, and Kelly Hitchcock, there she is, with the Central Virginia Planning District Commission is here. Kelly, do you have any slides? Okay. Let's see. We'll get you there. Is this it? No,
No.
this is the. Boom.
Yes.
There you are. Take it away, Kelly.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here this afternoon. So I'm here to talk about a regional safety action plan. Can it be that hard? There we go. Sorry about that. That did not work. Oh, okay. Well, there was something else in there. So we're here to talk about the safety action plan. Funding through that is through USDOT Safe Streets and Roads for All. It was part of the infrastructure bill. And the reason that the PDC in partnership with our localities applied is the unfortunate statistics in front of you. In our region, about 36 people die and 280 people seriously injured every year. And between 2018 and 2023, the data there shows there were 220 people that died in crashes and 1,680 people seriously injured in crashes in our area between 2018 and 2023. The Safe Streets and Roads for All program targets those serious accidents, those that result in someone dying and someone being sent to the hospital, not the total 21,126 crashes that take place in our area overall. So portions of the safety action plan, what you see in those light blue on the left, those 7, those are requirements that USDOT has for all safety action plans, whether you're in Washington State, Tennessee, North Carolina. Our safety action plan, that there's the cover that you show there, the 246-page document that was funded in part through USDOT. It was funded through the Central Virginia Planning District Commission. It was funded through the TPO and VDOT. Our agency, the grant received was $280,000, and it was a $70,000 match that the PDC provided the match. And again, that's a credit to all the localities that did that collectively through our board that approved that. The safety action plan, it has 6 chapters: introduction, traditional chapter. The second chapter is really the safety analysis. It really provides the meat of what's happening in our area and why we're focusing on those serious, fatal, and serious accidents. And because not all the accidents are a function of roadway design. You cannot control if someone chooses to speed. You cannot control if someone chooses to have a substance. But statistics shows there are things that you can do, and that's what the safety action plan is looking at. So it has emphasis areas where we're looking at pedestrians, bicycles, motorists, heavy vehicles, aging road users, intersections, impaired youth drivers, and all the various ways that you look at differences. So the plan looks at that overall, and it considers what's called a safe system approach, which is that very idea that design isn't making improvements in safety. Your engineers do that through the great work that they do and the planning department does. But there's also our smart cars that have technology to beat for us. So all of those things are making improvements. We're focused on those things that can be done through planning in this plan. And I'm sorry, I had a mistake on my slide that was animated. What we can't see here is that, so again, I apologize, that in our area, 50% of those fatal and serious accidents happen on 8% of the roadway. So it's not a problem everywhere, and that's a good thing. And those 8% of the roadway is called our region's high injury network. In the city of Lynchburg, 70% of those fatal accidents happen on 9% of Lynchburg's roadway. And so again, this was my fault. I did this animation, but behind there, and you can see it in the safety action plan in the second chapter, you can see what's the high injury network. And it's those roadway segments and intersections where the serious accidents are taking place. And to give you an example and a credit to the city, the improvements that were made at that intersection of Rivermont and Bedford Avenue, right, that turn lane, that was the state of Virginia had that intersection rose in the top 1% of accidents that were taking place in the state. Credit to the city staff. They went after those dollars. That's an example of an intersection that was in that high injury network. So that's the target of this. And what you see there are some of those targeted intersections and segments that were looked at through the funding that the Safe Streets and Roads for All program had with Kimberly Horn as the engineer in partnership with the city. What it doesn't show is the many segments and intersections that the city works on as a function of what they do on a daily basis and that you have in your CIP, and that the city's partnership with VDOT on the STARS projects that's taking place on Campbell Avenue and Ward's Road. So being those segments that are in your high injury network. So this is looking at all of those things in a regional cohesive way. And included in the safety action plan are goals that were established region-wide and done in partnership with the school systems that talked about the safety that they needed around the school systems. And the messages that we were hearing in Appomattox were no different than you were hearing in the city of Lynchburg when it came to speeding and awareness and those type of things. So the goals around reduced speeding, obvious, and improve roadway infrastructure to promote safety for all road users, strengthen enforcement to address dangerous driving, expand safety education and community engagement, and support engineering response systems that save lives. So we had a transportation safety summit in January of last year, and it included emergency personnel, police, engineering, and so the solutions that were coming up here from a policy and action were developed in cohesion and coordination with all of those partners. And then lastly, part of the safety action plan, I'm going to come back to those 7 requirements that are across the nation. In order to be eligible for what can be additional construction dollars through the safety action plan or through USDOT's program, it is a requirement that a public body commit to a goal in reducing fatal and serious accidents. It's a goal. And beyond what USDOT's requirement is to be eligible for a safety action plan additional construction dollars, the state of Virginia has adopted the nation's safe system approach. And Virginia's 2022-2026 Strategic Highway Safety Plan that's been adopted by the Commonwealth's Transportation Board, that serves as a foundation by which localities go after smart scale dollars and go after highway safety improvement programs, are utilizing the same methodology that USDOT does. So the benefit of establishing and approving these goals provide an arrow in that quiver for the city, whether it's going for those state dollars or going through the federal dollars. And the safety action plan was adopted by the CVPDC, which we're so fortunate to have Councilman Deemer as a member of, and the MPO at the November meeting. And it matches the same goal that the Commonwealth Transportation Board has, which is a goal to reduce fatal and serious accidents by 50% by 2045. And not meeting that goal, there's no penalty. And I'm not going to quote Chris Winstead, but I'm going to give a general concept of what Chris Winstead pointed out, which is there isn't a penalty to that. It's a goal, and it's a good goal to reduce accidents and fatalities. Anyone can understand that. But you're not penalized if you don't meet that goal, because it's recognized that there are some things that you can do and that are done, and your police do that. But again, you cannot control what someone can do necessarily behind the wheel of their own car. But it does provide something that the city can put within those applications in approving this plan. It does provide an opportunity to apply for dollars, and hopefully it's again an arrow in the quiver as the city puts in your next round of federal applications to your build application. And that's all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I will remiss to say the safety action plan will stay located at that website, cvsafestreets.com, because as a PDC and the TPO, we will watch how this moves forward and how actions are implemented over time through this 5-year period.
Thank you, Ms. Hitchcock. I know we put you in a tough position to get a lot of
Oh, no,
information into a short time. It's your dry run. You're here all night. So as people have questions, that'll be available.
No,
Any
we're
quick
happy to be here.
questions before I request a motion? Okay, do I have a motion to recommend to council? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, awesome. So we have a recommendation. We have 6 minutes for roll call. We have plenty of time. Everybody sit back. Thank you for your informative and very speedy presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Dr. Wilder.
No items.
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
No items.
Vice Mayor?
I just want to thank Kathy again for what you did. I enjoy working with your group, and I'm enjoying serving on that committee. And I'm glad Greg actually understands most of what happens.
All right. I have 2 items, kind of piggybacking that in the theme of safe streets. I am curious about the stretch of Forest Road going into Lakeside Drive between the Starbucks and going around up that little hill down by Southern Air, because it's such a blind spot. Just that there's that stretch right there when you're coming into town, and I've tried to pull out, and it's been a little dicey at times just with visibility. So I would love to just understand more about speed reduction, what can be done in that area. There is a flashing light for trucks entering, but it's not always on, and it just gets a little tricky with the pulling in, pulling out. And I've heard from some business owners in that stretch.
Some data, crash data, to see if there's any issues there. And I think do we have a system that'll let us look at, speed related?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we can put together a report on that section.
That would be awesome. And then the other component being the opportunity to work with universities in their orientation about just our road system. I've mentioned this before. Grew up in Kansas. Our roads are a grid. You drive 80 miles an hour because it's legal. Here, 501 North is the same as 29 South, and there's no on-ramp. So just having some of that acclimation as far as how this is different. Our roads came from moving liquor through the hills, and so they're shaped a little bit differently than the Midwestern grid. So if there's opportunity to collaborate on that, I think that would be a great opportunity. I am looking forward to our next PDC, where we'll be going over the multimodal plan and 12th Street corridor and tying that into more of a corridor overview. And Greg, do you have our next meeting in front of you? I didn't pull up my calendar.
I do not have it, but I believe it will be also the 10th of March, since February is 28 days.
Nifty.
It's
Yep.
divisible
There we
by
go.
7, so
Yep.
it should be the same.
All right, the 10th of March, 3 p.m. here in the training room. Meeting adjourned.
Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to our February 10th, 2026 work session. I'll now turn you over to Mr. Wendell Bender.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. We have a full room today. For our work session, we have 3 of our different partners who we partner in helping ensure that some of our most vulnerable are taken care of. Today, we have Central Virginia's Continuum of Care with an update. We have Parkview Community Missions Life Skills and Institute update, as well as Horizon Behavioral Health update. Kent will help kind of transition and make sure we know each and everyone that's here for that presentation. Under business item briefings, we have a few items by staff and 2 by 2 of our city council people, then a couple roll call items. And after that, Mr. Mayor, give it right back to you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Patrick. Mr. Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, so we are excited to welcome 3 very important nonprofit partners with us today. The first up will be Ms. Sarah Quarantoto with the Continuum of Care, followed by Todd Blake with Parkview Mission, and then Melissa Lucy with Horizon Behavioral Health. Council provides funding to all of these organizations through different means, so they provide you with the annual report. And you may also recall Councilmember Mischens had asked following one of the public comments a couple weeks ago for an update on our unsheltered population. So very timely that Ms. Quarantoto is with us today. So.
Great. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I will try to keep this brief, but I can talk a lot about homelessness. So we are just going to kind of give you a brief overview of homeless response here in Central Virginia. My name is Sarah Quarantoto. I'm the executive director of Miriam's House, and Miriam's House is the lead agency for the Continuum of Care. This is just a little bit of what we're going to talk about, but again, I will not belabor any of these points. So what is the Continuum of Care? In short, it's a homeless coalition that really is aimed at addressing homelessness within a certain geographic area. So in some communities, like in Connecticut, there's a Continuum of Care that covers the entire state. Here in the Commonwealth, we have 16 continuums of care. So back in the late 80s is really when the Congress first passed legislation providing homeless response grants to communities to address homelessness. Miriam's House in 1992 was the first agency to receive a federal homeless response grant in our area. So 2 years later, when the federal government required that communities come together as coalitions to address homelessness, Miriam's House was the one to form the Continuum of Care. So in short, our Continuum of Care is a coalition of faith communities, nonprofits, municipalities, organizations, all working to address homelessness. We cover the city of Lynchburg and then the surrounding counties of Amherst, Appomattox, Bedford, and Campbell. And then every Continuum of Care designates a lead agency to be that backbone support. So in some areas, like in Fredericksburg, it's the Planning Commission. In other areas, like in Roanoke, the city of Roanoke has a department to address homelessness. In Richmond, in Charlottesville, here in Lynchburg, we have nonprofits that really lead that work and serve as the continuum lead. So our vision and mission are super straightforward, no surprise. The mission of the Continuum of Care is to ensure that homelessness, when it happens, is rare, that it's brief, and that it's non-recurring for those who experience it. We have a really robust governance. So we have a Continuum of Care board that's comprised of just a number of individuals that I'll go through in a minute. We coordinate with the city of Lynchburg as a partner, also with our counties. Again, Miriam's House is the lead agency. And then as you can see, we have a ton of working groups working on everything from veteran homelessness to making sure our data is accurate, to monitoring programs that receive funding to ensure they're doing a good job and have proper fiscal management. So really robust governance structure. Our COC board members are listed here. Again, really representing sort of a broad variety of organizations. So we have the police department, because of course we work closely with our police. We have our Central Health is there. We work closely with Central Health to ensure health care for those experiencing homelessness. Agencies such as Community Access Network that provide health care as well, and Rush Homes that provides housing. So really a robust group of entities. Virginia Career Works, because of course we need employment to address homelessness. So Some really great partners. And then our member agencies are even broader. So just a ton of different groups that really care about addressing homelessness here in the Lynchburg area. So one of the big things that we do as a continuum is we compete for federal and state homeless response grants. So every year, our COC competes with 400 other continuum of cares across the country for $3.65 billion in homeless response grants. And then here in the Commonwealth, we compete against 15 other continuum of cares, and then one balanced estate, which is comprised of those like tan areas that are a little bit more rural and don't have their own continuum of care. So we bring in just about we have about 1.5 million in public investment in our homeless response system. So our federal grants are just over $500,000. That comes from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And then just under $800,000 comes from the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. And then, of course, our local support through the Community Development Block Grant from the city of Lynchburg is $114,000. So these are all of the agencies that receive funding to provide homeless response. So these agencies are doing everything from homeless prevention to street outreach to providing shelter, to managing the system, to operating a homeless information line. And so all of these various programs really make up the homeless response system. And I love a flow chart. So this is kind of our flow chart. So when folks experience homelessness, they're up there in the purple. They're either contacting our homeless information line that is funded through CDBG funding from you all, our domestic violence hotlines, or are identified through our street outreach program, Home. So our goal is for everyone to move from that purple all the way down to green and get back into housing. And it's going to be a little bit of a different journey depending on their strengths, their barriers, maybe their subpopulation. So we have special programs for families with kids who are homeless or veterans who are homeless. And we dedicate more resources to those vulnerable populations. So this is sort of the way that folks move from homelessness to housing. This next chart is the same one, but with the organizations identified that are doing that work. So you can kind of get a sense of who is providing each of these various program components. So how many people experience homelessness here in the Lynchburg area? So as you can see, we've had pretty steady numbers since about 2020. We had a dramatic decrease in 2020, and that really has kind of stayed the same. So if you were to look at 2017 and 2018, that would be really consistent with 2019 data. But we saw really dramatic decreases. Now, what is notable, though, is that white section of the graph, which is our unsheltered population, as you can see, that is much a greater proportion of the homeless population than it had been in the past. And that's primarily because we have less shelter beds than we had in the past. So more folks who are homeless are experiencing unsheltered homelessness rather than having access to a homeless shelter. One thing that we do as a continuum is we collect data every day of the year, but we also do a really robust census, and it's called the point in time count. Every continuum across the country does this in the last 10 days of January. And so as you can see, we had fairly similar numbers to 2019, a slight decrease actually, and certainly a decrease from 23 and 24 last year. And we did conduct our point in time count just 2 weeks ago, but we don't have all the data perfect yet. So I'll wait to present that until I can feel confident in it. So as you can see on that point in time count, there was a bit of a decrease in unsheltered homelessness last year. And that's because we had CDBG funding to invest in a warming shelter at the Salvation Army. And so we had more folks that were sheltered during that census night than experiencing unsheltered homelessness, which is really significant. So only 16 were unsheltered during the point in time count last year. One thing that we really focus on are these 4 priority subpopulations. So we look at chronically homeless, those who have had long episodes of homelessness. We look at veterans who are homeless. We look at people and families, so children in a family. And then we look at unaccompanied youth, and that's young people ages 18 to 24. Those groups can be really vulnerable when experiencing homelessness. So we're tracking everyone experiencing homelessness, but we're particularly paying attention to those groups. And each of those, as you can see, has seen decreases since 2019. So as I noted, our unsheltered population is higher than usual. And so in 2025, we had 188 people over the course of the entire calendar year. experience unsheltered homelessness. And so that is a dramatic increase from prior years, especially 2019, 2020. So that's something that we certainly are aware of and we're working to address. I'm a little competitive, as I imagine some of you are. So I always want to know how we're performing sort of relative to our other communities. So we actually have the third lowest per capita of homelessness when you look at all the other continuum of cares across the Commonwealth of Virginia. So that is really good news. We're doing great work. But of course, we always want to do better work. So some of the metrics that we use to gauge our success are how long people experience homelessness in our community. We know that the longer someone is homeless, the more traumatic it is. And it's, the more they're using emergency services, perhaps. So we really want to make sure that we reduce that length of time homeless by addressing it. So that has gone up in recent years. And I'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's tied to a couple different things. One, when someone is unsheltered versus sheltered, it's harder to access services. It's harder to shower, to get a job. It's harder to, to have some stability. And so we know that people experience longer episodes of unsheltered homelessness over sheltered homelessness. Now, some good news, our housing placements have increased in recent years. And so, of course, we want everyone to move from homelessness into housing. That doesn't happen, but last year, 2024, 73% of the folks experiencing homelessness in our community went into housing, which when you look at national trends, that's really phenomenal. So we have really great case managers throughout our homeless response systems working with folks to get them into housing. And then, of course, we want them to stay in housing. So that comes to this next metric, which really points to who returns to homelessness. And so only 9.9% of individuals return to homelessness 2 years after moving into housing, which is a decrease from prior years. So we're doing a really great job of keeping people stable, which is really wonderful. So in short, kind of to give you sort of the lay of the land, some of the needs that we have. Of course, we really need some more homeless shelter beds here in our community to really decrease unsheltered homelessness and to be able to quickly connect folks to the services that are going to help them. Salvation Army in the last, during this winter season has increased their capacity to 50 beds. They were able to do that through the CDBG grant for their warming shelter. And so they have 50 beds available. And then, of course, the city stepped in during our recent weather event and provided some overflow sheltering. And that's obviously super important to prevent people from overexposure outside and, of course, death. So that was tremendous. We continue to work with the Ramp Church. They continue to be committed to opening the Refuge on Memorial, which will offer 50 beds of shelter. They're hopeful in the next couple months that they'll be able to do that. And of course, Miriam's House will open a family shelter serving households with children. We actually have our ribbon cutting on Thursday, which of course you're all invited to. We recognize that there are a number of families with children sleeping in their car, and that is really unacceptable. We also need more access to affordable rental units. So affordable rental housing and homeownership, of course, both prevents homelessness in the first place because people can afford their rent. And it's a way out of homelessness if you can access a rental unit that is affordable to your income level. So that's a really important piece of sort of the puzzle of homeless response. And as you know, which no surprise to anyone, since 2021, that really that cost has really increased in our community and has not sort of dipped back down. The good news, though, here under this category is that through the Home Art Program funding with the Department of Housing and Community Development, Interfaith Outreach received a tenant-based rental assistance grant through the continuum of care that allows households experiencing homelessness to have access to rental assistance. So we've seen some really tremendous outcomes from that of folks being able to move out of homelessness into housing. In that last category there, a challenge that we have coming up is really preserving some of our federal homeless response grant funding in our community. There are some changes within the Department of Housing and Urban Development wanting to really move away from permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing and fund other interventions, which these interventions have been really successful for our community. So that's something that we're really hopeful that we can preserve here in the Lynchburg area. Is there time for questions? Okay, there's time for questions. Yes. Oh, I guess it's up to you.
Go.
So sorry. You tell them.
You good. You good.
No.
Just me.
Thank you for that. That
was wonderful.
Yeah.
Very thorough update and explanation. I do have a question about if you know, the update for the ramp, because I know we approved that a long time ago, probably well over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the last time we had an update, the delay was because of the sprinkler system and how long that was going to take, the money that was needed to raise I got for that installation. What's been the hiccup since then?
Yeah, so we actually had a meeting with them and our funder through the Department of Housing and Community Development, our state agency, this morning. And they let us know that they one of their holdups over the winter has been finding insurance for their church building. Previously, their insurer had been an insurance agency that covers churches, and now with the change in function, they had to find a new insurance provider. So they're really confident that they can open. They said this morning they can open in March. Now that they have insurance, they're going to start working on hiring, and so they have some job postings available. Yeah, so we like you are hopeful that that will come online. That's going to be a really important sort of program to sort of fill a gap that's really needed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Wilder.
Thank you for the information. We appreciate it. Also, to all the partners, thank you for doing for our community. That's so crucial that we have support for persons who are experiencing homeless. Are there any, in your look of the state, are there any agencies or any cities that sponsor build a homeless shelter, or is it mostly just through partnerships with different nonprofits?
There are. I wish I had done a little bit more research before coming here. I know that one community, and I want to say it's Harrisburg, but when you're not from Lynchburg, I mean, it's from Virginia, sometimes you get your places confused. But they received some home ARP funds during the pandemic, and they used that to build a homeless shelter and then put out an RFP for a provider to run the shelter. So the city owns the building and maintains it, which is a huge cost to nonprofits. But the actual running of the shelter is the responsibility of a nonprofit. So there are some models like that. Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mr. Mission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
I didn't miss any of it. I was listening on the
Oh,
way
good.
And one of the things that you covered before I got here was the change in 2020.
Mhm.
And now we're seeing a rise. Has there been anything that you've identified that correlates with that? Is there anything you can speak to that? I'm just curious on that.
So if you had asked me back in 2022 why we saw decreases in homelessness during the pandemic, I would have said things like eviction moratoria that kept folks from getting evicted or rental relief programs. But the numbers kind of staying lower than pre-pandemic, that I wish I knew, and I really don't know. Most communities are not seeing that. So most communities saw a dip during the pandemic, and then those numbers are increasing since that has ended. And that has not been the case for our community.
Well, that's a good thing.
So we're just exceptional.
Well, then
Yeah.
that means you're doing a good job, and appreciate what you're doing. And the other question Councilmember Reed asked that I had was primarily that, and if staff and you all could just kind of keep an eye on that and keep us updated probably as regularly as you feel like you need to. I think that we need to keep an eye on what's going on with ramp, and hopefully they'll get that insurance issue solved and get open.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just say while Mr. Blake comes to the table, enough good things cannot be said about the work of Ms. Quarantoto and the Miriam's House team, Interfaith Outreach, Sean Farmer and her team, Brett and Susan McElroy with Salvation Army. Their response during this last snow event was just unprecedented, and the way they stood up and were able to connect with people in both the shelter and the overflow and connect them with service was just incredible. So
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I just
Mr.
want to
Bender.
acknowledge, we understand it's warm. Unfortunately, with an old building, it's like turning a battleship. So we're trying to make sure everyone's really comfortable. So if you feel a little warm, I see people peeling off jackets and what have you. So just bear with us.
Welcome, Todd.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Taylor and members of council. Thank you for the invitation to be here this afternoon. I'm pleased today to be backed up by a number of members of our staff and our board. We're wearing our Parkview 30 shirts. This year, Parkview Community Mission is celebrating 30 years of serving Lynchburg. Parkview began in 1996 with one meal served to one neighbor who was hungry. and he was welcomed with dignity. He was invited to the table. He was offered food and relationship. And so for the next 30 years, we have tried to let that same spirit drive how we do what we do. So what began as a response to one immediate need has grown into 6 programs. These programs address food insecurity and housing instability, providing dignified clothing, and providing pathways towards long-term independence and employment. We had approximately 128,000 opportunities to serve our neighbors in 2025, and it started with one meal 30 years ago. And so we're excited to be a part of that. Over 3 decades, Parkview has focused on building relationships, and in building relationships as a way to meet immediate needs and to also foster long-term transformation. We believe our best work is done when we build relationships with our neighbors, when we know their names, when we know their stories, we know the circumstances that have led to whatever it is that they're experiencing in their life. When we know them well, we can serve them better, and we can serve them with more dignity. And so over those 30 years, we've learned some important lessons. One is that immediate support matters. Serving that immediate need, whether that is for food, for a coat, for a sleeping bag, trying to keep the lights on in someone's home. Those things really matter, but it shouldn't stop there. Providing for those immediate needs helps us to build those relationships that lead to more transformation. Meeting those immediate needs helps to build stability. And when our neighbors have stability, they can take advantage of opportunity. When our neighbors are treated with dignity, when we welcome them, when we know their name and when we know their story, when we build those relationships with them, when they find a community of people that care about them, that want to know how they're doing, and believes in them, then our neighbors can rise to the occasion. And so we hope that you'll celebrate with us this year. We hope you'll come to our 5K, our St. Patty's Day 5K on March 14th. Or you'll come to our celebration of impact on September 12th, or that you'll come and visit us this year. Many of you came and visited us last year, and we appreciate you coming to see us, to see what we do, to meet some of our neighbors. That means a lot to us. We hope that you'll come and volunteer with us and serve in our programs and get to meet our neighbors. This afternoon specifically, we want to celebrate one of our programs, our Life Skills Institute. In 2022, I was relatively new as executive director at Parkview. And so in early 2022, we sought to reinvigorate our Life Skills Institute. And we made a renewed focus on it. We revamped some MOUs. We hired new staff and really made it a priority in serving our neighbors through our Life Skills Institute. LSI, as we call it, allows us to help our neighbors move forward with confidence, with skills, and with opportunities. And so on behalf of Parkview Community Mission, I want to thank you all. We want to thank the city of Lynchburg for investing in our neighbors. The city of Lynchburg is our proudest partner, our largest supporter of LSI. And so I thank you for approving the use of these funds, for the staff time that it takes to process invoices and reimbursements and to handle reports and accountability and all of those kinds of things. We are grateful for you. Today's not just a report. I think it's an example of what's possible when a city invests in its people. While the Life Skills Institute exists, we exist to equip and empower our neighbors with practical skills needed for their success. At LSI specifically and Parkview Community Mission as a whole, we do strive to build those relationships and infuse dignity into everything that we do. Lots of times when our neighbors come to us for the first time, whether they're coming to the clothing closet, they're coming to the food pantry, their lights have been cut off, whatever it is, oftentimes they are walking in carrying shame with them. And when they walk in carrying shame, we want them to walk out with dignity. We want their physical needs to be met, but we also want them to walk out with the dignity that they matter to their neighbors in this community. They matter to Parkview, and they matter to the staff, the volunteers that they'll meet when they come and see us. I believe that approach gives us the opportunity to serve working age adults who want to improve their circumstances, but they just don't have the access that they need, the network. Maybe they need to upskill. They need to add to their skill set in order to gain employment. Sometimes they come in and they have everything that they need except the confidence to believe that they can go and nail the interview. Sometimes all they need is someone who believes in them, and they find that at Parkview. Well, how do we do this? We do this through job readiness and employment support. We provide group classes in building soft skills, things like time management, things like showing up on time, being a team player, being a problem solver at the workplace. We provide practical skills that they need for success. We help them with resume development. What do they need to have on their resume? We sit down with them and we do mock interviews. We help them practice for the interview so that they can go and nail it. We sit down with them one-on-one and help with career navigation. We provide other programming, things like financial literacy classes and mentoring, computer skills, cooking and nutrition, foods that they can receive at our food pantry. Well, how do we cook it? How do we provide a healthy meal for our family in our home? Home organization, first aid, things like that that make their home safer and take care of their families. It could look like one-on-one financial mentoring, a neighbor sitting down with someone from some of our banking partners in the community. It could look like a member of our staff sitting down with a senior adult, helping her to work on learning computer skills so that she can run her online business, selling things that she makes. These programs are led by community volunteers, by our staff, by lots of partners throughout the community that come and make this possible. You should have a packet. I hope you'll turn to page 5 and 6 in your packet. You'll see on page 5, there are a couple of line graphs. Those line graphs give you a snapshot of what's been happening over the past few years, how our work has grown at LSI. You can see in that in the top line graph, the number of neighbors employed each year. You can see also there in the lower line graph, the wages earned by our neighbors each year. But if you look at it on the whole, if you look at page 6, on the whole, since the beginning of 2022, 260 of our neighbors have entered the workforce. And these neighbors have the potential to contribute about $5.3 million to the local economy. So if you think about that from a person standpoint, that is 260 stories of lives changing. That's 260 families whose circumstances are improving. But for all of us in the community, that's an economic impact that's good for all of us. But also look especially at 2025, our biggest year yet at LSI. 108 of our neighbors entered the workforce. They have the potential to earn over $2 million annually in wages, and that's just 1 year. So the year-over-year impact as neighbors move into the workforce is real impact. For a grant, for a program that costs just over $100,000 a year, much of that is grant funded, thanks to you all. This is making real impact in our community. For every $1 invested at LSI, it's returning far more into our local economy. And more important than that, in my opinion, it's lives that are changing and people that have the dignity that comes along with employment that they're proud of and they're excited about. We did a new thing this year. One of our partnerships through the Central Virginia Community College, LSI took a new step in 2025. We worked closely with them. And last year, 11 of our neighbors enrolled in programs at CVCC. And so our work at LSI means entry-level employment, but it also means long-term economic mobility. It means career development for our neighbors. On page 8, you'll see the story of one of our neighbors, Sherry. When Sherry first came to LSI, she was very discouraged. She was unsure of her own potential. She was one of those who needed someone to believe in her. And so through attending job readiness classes, sitting down one-on-one with our staff and our volunteers, she gained that confidence. She gained the skills. She secured the interview. She nailed it. She got the job. And for almost 3 years now, she has been employed with one of our nonprofit partners in the community. And so the individuals that she works with now in one of our partner organizations, she now refers them to Parkview and to LSI. And so it's a really full circle moment where it means a lot to us that she believed enough in her experience with us that she trusts us enough to send the individuals that she works with to us, knowing that they will be treated with dignity in the same way that she was. One of the unique things that we got the opportunity to do involved something that's can't be captured in numbers, but one of our roles, I believe, at Parkview is to speak up for our neighbors when they don't have the opportunity to speak up for themselves, and sometimes it's to give them the opportunity to speak up for themselves. And so in 2025, we hosted Virginia's Poet Laureate, Maddie Quisenberry Smith. She came and spent several weeks with us, and she worked with a group of neighbors and volunteers and staff and board members as they developed poetry about their own experience, volunteering at Parkview, serving at Parkview, or what it meant to live in poverty and to live in food insecurity, to experience homelessness. And so you should have received a copy of those poems. I hope you'll take those home, that you'll read them. These are Lynchburg stories, and they belong to the whole city. And so I hope that you will take them in. In closing, City Council's willingness to support LSI translates directly into jobs. It means confidence for our neighbors, for your neighbors. It means education. And for our whole community, it means more stability. I really believe this in everything that we do at Parkview. The best investment that we can make is in our people, in our neighbors. And I believe these outcomes, these numbers, and these stories prove that. So thank you for your partnership. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for trusting us enough, and for hearing our report today. And I would welcome your questions and comments.
Ms. Reed?
Thank you so much. For anybody in the city who has not taken a tour of Parkview Community Mission, this is the place you need to go, because whether you need their services or not, you need to be educated on what it is they do, because there are so many people in our city who need to understand the needs of our citizens and be educated on why they need what you provide, because so many of us just really don't understand. I learned probably more from the tour that I got there 2+ years ago than on any other tour I took that year, because I always knew I was blessed, but I never realized how much until you explained so many things to me, because sometimes it's hard to believe that there are people who never knew how to bathe themselves, don't know how to clean a house, don't know how to cook. We all make such assumptions about people growing up in conditions that seem in America, in our neighborhoods, that we take for granted. And then when you start talking, Todd, and your staff start explaining about the children in our own backyard or adults, and you learn, oh, well, many people are raised in these broken homes, or homes where their parents were mentally ill, or whatever the circumstances. And you realize, no, not everybody had that, whether it's through economics or through just broken home situations or foster care or incarceration or whatever the situation might have been, that leads to a person not having the means or know-how or understanding or whatever it is. And that you guys provide all of those services to help them have a better opportunity. Our children get meals because of you. Every age group gets a chance at a better opportunity. They get to learn those skills that for whatever reason they didn't learn at their homes. And then you guys provide wraparound services. And you have all these testimonies of people that really do and are able to improve their lives. It is such a beautiful mission. And I'm so grateful for what you do. My other job, you guys make sure my kids eat. And that is, such a blessing that I know Sterling and I both know that our kids go home in the summer and we know that they can eat, and their families are grateful for that. We know that food insecurity is real for our children in the city, and their families are so grateful for your food pantry. People that rely on the dignity that you provide as a Christian person. I'm so grateful for that. You really are an extension of Christ in the love that you show to people and the respect that's so important. So I just am so grateful for your mission and ministry and your staff, everyone that has ever represented your leadership and Parkview. I just think everybody needs to go. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Timmer?
Thank you. And I'll piggyback Ms. Reed just a little bit. But when I had the privilege of doing the tour, I'll admit I was a little baffled at first because there were so many different hubs and niches. And I was like, how did these develop? How did these fit together? And I really believe it's that dignity piece. Because the different services that you provide bridge the dignity component in that particular circumstance and place of need. And so I just want to highlight that. I know it was highlighted in your talk, but affirm that, because as I was puzzling out how these different elements would have come about in an organizational standpoint, that's what connected it for me. So thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership in our community.
Dr. Wilder?
Again, thank you for the work you do in our community. It is so crucial. We really appreciate it. I know you do the life skills class for persons who are on, I think, welfare, whatever, get them off of welfare. Programs like that are so crucial to break those cycles of poverty and get them those right jobs and those right skills. So I really appreciate that. And also, you also have the sports locker. But part of it lazy, which is so important. Some kids can't afford hockey shoes or cleats or whatever of the different sporting equipment. So I know you have that tool there as well. Also, a person looking for employment with some jobs and job interviewing skills, as well as clothes for interviews. So those are crucial things that are so needed. It's really to be like boots on the ground, where we really got to get persons into the thicket of things and see how can we get them out of poverty.
Right.
What all they got to do. One thing I love about Lynchburg is the nonprofit piece. I see the beautiful nonprofit piece. There's so many great nonprofits here in Lynchburg. The city council piece is, anyways, eye-opening experience for me. But I love the nonprofit piece because so many people work together, and it shows all parts of life through Horizon and all the other great organizations we have in our community, Academy, and so many great things, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club. We have some amazing nonprofits. And thank you for being another part of our community that we really appreciate. Makes Lynchburg what it is today. Thank you.
The submission.
Appreciate what you guys do. Thank you.
Dean?
I'd like to get one of those tours you talked about.
Absolutely.
Try to schedule that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Todd, I enjoy driving through Park View sometimes. Right up there on the corner. And I see the lines of people out there with the grocery baskets, and you don't turn anybody away, and stay encouraged, brother.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Mayor, I'll just say, while Ms. Lucy comes forward for the next presentation, two things. One, Parkview's numbers, the Life Skills Institute's numbers speak for themselves. The city receives funding through a Virginia Department of Social Services grant. So they work hand in glove with our own Human Services Department to make sure that those skills, and they'll be reapplying for that grant later this year. And the other thing, you all mentioned the great services through this. I think what gets lost in a snow event like what we just had, is that the logistics involved in keeping a food pantry open for the community. And I think just being able to simply restock it and get a truck in is incredible. So the backstories are always the best. So with that, Ms. Lucy is here to talk about Horizon.
Hi, so thank you. It's an honor to come and present to you all today, and I appreciate you having me here again. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is our mission. You're going to have to help me. It's not working. Oh, there we go. Okay. Our mission at Horizon Behavioral Health is to support and promote the health, independence, and self-worth of individuals and families in Central Virginia. And we achieve this by offering a comprehensive continuum of community-based services. This includes treatment, prevention, early intervention, and aftercare for those facing mental health challenges, intellectual disabilities, and substance use and co-occurring disorders. We aim to provide behavioral health care services that are not only accessible, but also centered around the consumer. And we strive for cost effectiveness, and importantly, our services are outcome-based. This means we are committed to making a measurable difference in the lives that we serve. On the next slide, Horizon offers a wide range of services that we like to call a continuum of care to cater to the various needs of our community, from case management, emergency housing, emergency services, psychiatric services, school-based services, and each service plays a crucial role in ensuring that our community members receive comprehensive care. We are proud to have a dedicated board of directors made up of 10 members who represent 5 localities in Central Virginia. And these individuals ensure that our services align closely with the needs of our diverse communities. As we celebrate 56 years of service this past April, it's a testament to our commitment and adaptability in providing quality care to the community. You all have heard me talk before about how important evidence-based programming is for grants that we receive, funding, etc., to show that what we're doing actually works. I want to tell you about a new to Horizon, the in-depth tobacco cessation education program developed by the American Lung Association is offered in the public schools to the students. The program folds tobacco cessation education into a new program that was launched to serve adolescents with substance use treatment, also known as the TREE program. It's still in the early implementation stage, but this program is boasting engagement rates that exceed state average, so we're very proud of that. Horizon programs impact hospital readmissions both directly and indirectly. Programs that provide direct impact are designed to provide immediate personalized care and support. For instance, assertive community treatment offers intensive community-based care for individuals with severe mental illness, crisis stabilization, and emergency services provides immediate assistance during mental health crises, helping to prevent unnecessary hospital admissions. Additionally, Horizon's on-site pharmacies and Lynchburg co-responder programs offers accessible medication in collaboration with local law enforcement, respectively, to address crisis in our community. Programs with an indirect impact are essential for sustaining recovery, long-term, and preventing relapse. Case management and medication management ensure a continuation of care, coordinated care, and key to preventing readmissions by addressing ongoing needs. On-site same-day assessment facilitate timely interventions that can preempt hospitalizations. Together, these programs are simply a snapshot of our comprehensive strategies to reduce hospital readmissions, enhancing the quality of life for the individuals we serve. These heartfelt testimonials are from clients who shared their experience with our admissions process and staff. They highlight the compassion and empowered nature of our teams. It's not just about our administering of care. It's about building trust and truly listening to our clients' needs, what they ask us for, what they need, and what they request. Governor Glenn Youngkin's 3-year comprehensive plan, Right Help Right Now, is concluding its 3rd and final year of transforming Virginia's behavioral health system with its 6-pillared approach to address behavioral health challenges and strengthen services across the Commonwealth. The Right Help Right Now model has bolstered investment in Virginia's behavioral health system, supporting community services boards just like Horizon. We're addressing the mental health crisis and opioid epidemic by expanding evidence-based treatment, strengthening the workforce, prioritizing prevention, and leveraging resources for lasting impact in Central Virginia. As the initiative approaches its final conclusion this year, Horizon remains focused on delivering comprehensive, sustainable behavioral health care to ensure every Virginian in Central Virginia receives the right help at the right time right now. On the next slide, I'd like to highlight a few examples of some of our newest evidence-based grant-supported programs and initiatives that I think do a great job of demonstrating the shift we are seeing to community-based care as the premier method of service provisions as supported by the Governor's Right Help Right Now model. The Lynchburg Behavioral Health Docket is designed for individuals with serious mental illness who are involved in the legal system to provide wraparound treatment for mental illness, promote recovery, avoid further legal involvement, and lead healthy and productive lives in their community. I want to also highlight our youth coalition that went to VADAP conference and came home to Lynchburg with an award. They used the mini grant to fund a mental health awareness mural in the city of Lynchburg. Treatment and recovery enhancement and expansion, also known as the TREE grant, program for adolescents, transitional aged youth, and their families partnered with local public school systems to offer expanded treatment options for substance use disorders and/or co-occurring substance use and mental health disorders to benefit adolescents and transitional aged youth in Central Virginia. And the program boasts client engagement achievements, again, that exceed the national average. This is a quote from the Honorable Judge Krantz, who presides over the behavioral health docket. And as you guys know, in the interest of time, because I speak a lot and talk really fast to get all this into you, I'm not going to read every quote because I'd run out of time. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them as you look at them. The GABI program provides outreach and engagement, screening and same-day assessment treatment, case management, peer recovery support, and location of permanent housing. Among other specialty services, to be eligible for this program, an adolescent must, 1, have a mental health diagnosis, substance use disorder, or co-occurring diagnosis. 2, be homeless or at high risk of becoming homeless. And 3, reside in the counties of Amherst, Appomattox, Bedford, Campbell, or the city of Lynchburg. Lynchburg Recovery Court, since its inception in 2017, there have been 27 graduates showing a strong track record of success. Recently, the program received a $2 million federal grant from SAMHSA to increase its capacity, which is a testament to its effectiveness. And if 27 graduates does not sound like a lot to you, I assure you it is, because it's extremely intensive wraparound services, and we are working with them every day, multiple times a day, to ensure that they are staying on the right path. Project Link is a program designed to care for pregnant or postpartum women who are diagnosed with the substance use disorder. We contact every individual that tests positive for substance use at birth, which is reported to us by Virginia Baptist. Horizon served 62 individuals last year. This initiative provides wraparound services featuring evidence-based groups like Healing Trauma and Nurturing Parents. These programs are crucial for addressing challenges like lack of childcare, transportation, and family support, and that's a child that we are literally saving their life. I want to point out our Too Good for Drugs. It's in its 15th consecutive year, and that's in the Lynchburg City School Systems. These are some additional statistics that I just wanted to point out to you all because we're very proud to report them. And again, in the interest of time, I won't go through each line, but as you're reading through them, if you have questions, please let me know. The big takeaway from here is that uninsured clients in our catchment are receiving life-saving care for a fraction of what it costs to provide that service. With your contribution, the average uninsured client receives a combination of one or more services, such as case management services at the rate of $367 per month and outpatient therapy at an average rate of $238 per month for as low as $162.83 per month. So we just wanted to show you how much we are stretching your dollar. Today, I'd like to focus on a critical development for Central Virginia, our new Crisis Care Center. This initiative represents a collaborative response to the ongoing mental health crisis in our community. Our Crisis Care Center is designed to address the urgent need for mental health support and is a testament to what we can achieve when diverse community stakeholders come together. I would also like to take this moment to thank many of you who were able to attend the ribbon cutting with Governor Glenn Youngkin. We are very appreciative for your support and for the fact that you got to show up and actually see the center. So thank you. Central Virginia is like many areas. It's grappling with the shortage of psychiatric beds and an increase in behavioral health emergencies, more serious emergencies, more need. As a result, emergency departments and law enforcement are stretched thin, often becoming the default response to mental health crises. To address this urgent need, Horizon's Crisis Care Center will be a groundbreaking facility. It's set to be the first crisis receiving and stabilization center unit in Central Virginia. We are diligently working toward opening our doors to the public this year, and it will provide crucial services to residents from Lynchburg, Amherst, Appomattox, Bedford, and Campbell County. The Crisis Care Center will be guided by a trauma-informed care model, offering care with safety, dignity, and person-centered support at the core. We are committed to offering an alternative to hospitalization or incarceration, which can often exacerbate stress and trauma. By doing so, we improve health and safety outcomes for those in crisis. Our goals are to avoid unnecessary hospitalizations by stabilizing the individual locally wherever is safe and feasible. Second, we seek to divert individuals from overcrowded emergency rooms to our center, where they have better access to specialized care and support. Lastly, we support recovery in the least restrictive setting, ensuring individuals remain close to their natural support networks and local services. Our mission is to deliver compassionate, trauma-informed crisis care. This not only supports individual recovery and reduces harm, but also strengthens our community's coordinated response system. Together, we're building a safer, more supportive environment for everyone, and we are putting our officers back on the street. The scope of services offered at Horizons Crisis Care Center is designed to provide comprehensive support through services of varied acuity. First, we have the walk-in mental health evaluations available 24/7. The service is crucial for immediate assessment, whether it's for walk-in clients or those under emergency custody orders. Our goal here is to evaluate risk and determine the best care level, possibly guiding individuals to higher acuity programs on site that meet their needs. Next, we offer residential crisis stabilization. The service is essential for those with acute or complex needs, providing 3 to 7 days of stabilization. It's a pivotal step-down option for individuals post-hospital discharge, ensuring they continue to recover with support of a multidisciplinary team. This team is dedicated to planning treatment, offering crisis counseling, medication support, and peer recovery services. Finally, there's the 23-hour crisis stabilization program, which is voluntary and provides intensive short-term support. In this program, adults in crisis can receive up to 23 hours of comprehensive care, including assessment, care coordination, and crisis intervention, all aimed at restoring skills and offering peer support. And again, allowing us the time to determine where someone should go versus making a split decision in 3 to 4 hours or up to 8 at times. Medical detoxification provides round-the-clock care for individuals withdrawing from substances. The safe, supportive environment includes medical supervision and nursing assessments, ensuring clients manage withdrawal symptoms safely. We aim to kickstart the recovery process and prepare individuals for ongoing treatment. Next, we have kitchen and dining services. Operating a full-service kitchen 7 days a week, we ensure that all clients across various programs are well-nourished, which is vital, especially considering some clients may come to us not having eaten meals in several days. Lastly, Allied Supportive Services offers comprehensive support to all clients. This includes peer recovery support, embedded crisis intervention, trained officers, and an array of other services like nursing, psychological evaluations, and care coordination. Each of these services play a vital role in ensuring individuals receive the care they need in times of crisis, supporting them towards recovery and community reintegration. This is a powerful statement from Commissioner Nelson, highlighting the critical role mental health plays in not just the individual well-being, but also the functioning of our community as a whole. As we move forward, it's essential to recognize that mental health challenges are at the forefront of community safety and wellness. This truth underlines the importance of the services and support systems we have discussed and highlights why we are determined to provide needed services to individuals in desperate need. My communications team would not like me if I didn't tell you to follow us on all those things. That's why that's up there. Any questions?
I have a question. I just want to commend you. My first job out of high school was working for Courtside Athletic Club. And to see that building being so well used now brings joy because I know it's been empty a long time. Empty buildings are bad. We know that. And I just want to thank you, your team. I want to thank Mr. Feraldi for his service on the board and all those on your board that have put together a wonderful event that we attended, but more importantly, some great services that I've heard straight from the policemen. They're very appreciative of. And I've heard from our Commonwealth attorney what the difference these things make in her job and keeping our community safe without criminalizing mental health as the way we used to in the past. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. We could not have done it without the support of City Council. So I thank you all, and I truly mean that. I say this quite often. That project was a labor of love, and I do mean it. I literally started it the first month in this role. And it took me all of the 4 years to get to the $15.1 million that it took, and all of the support of the board. So I want to say that. And Chris was a key person on our board that was really pushing and supporting this every step of the way. And I do point out to everyone every chance I get, this is not something that benefits Horizon. We truly did this for the community. It's a liability for Horizon. It is a stressor on how many new positions we had to have. But having done crisis my whole career, I saw the need, and I really wanted to do what's best for the community. So, and as did the board and you all. So thank you.
Dr. Wilder.
And thank you for the service you provide for our community. It shows what we can do. We all work together.
That's correct.
I really appreciate it, especially the Crisis Recovery Receiving Center.
Mhm.
I think that's so important for get our officers back on the streets
Yeah.
Instead of being in the emergency room all day. So that's so needed for our community. So glad you worked on that project. And also the one about the smoking cessation, does it also address vaping? as
It
well?
does. Yeah.
There's a horrible challenge with our kids right now.
Yes,
I mean,
it
it's
is.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
Ms. Timmer.
Thank you.
Your professionalism and your love for excellence are so evident. But in our brief interactions over the past year, something else I've noticed are your passion and your persistence.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you and commend you, because I feel in those things coming together, if it wasn't for that tenacious piece that isn't always publicly seen, this wouldn't be in our community. And it's a huge asset to our community. So thank you, Mr. Feraldi, but and the board, and thank you for your tenacity in
Thank
bringing
you.
this forward.
Yeah, the
Appreciate it.
commissioner definitely, I brought that across. I don't think he wanted to speak to me anymore, but that's okay. I don't care.
You got it done.
I did, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, and I really appreciate the work that
Thank
you've
you.
been doing. Something that kind of comes to mind, and you don't have to answer this, but I think it's something that we need to start talking about.
Yeah.
Right, with what looks like is on the horizon, and I didn't mean it by that.
Yeah, the
by
pun.
that.
Yeah,
I didn't mean it by
yeah.
that. With the the recreational legalization of marijuana
Mhm.
coming,
Mhm.
it's probably going to really challenge these services in our community. It's not something I talk about very often, but back in 23, my cousin, we were a few months apart. He essentially committed suicide as a result of, I think, what was a long-term cannabis use
Mhm.
led to where he ended up, and I would love to see you guys start working from a proactive approach on communicating this, especially in the schools,
Mhm.
and trying to work with the community, whatever agencies we need to get involved, all the above approach to educating these kids and these youth about the dangers of that stuff, so that when they get to that age where they can legally purchase it, if that's what ends up happening, that it's kind of like a no-brainer. We've seen a lot of the I think tobacco use is down compared to what it was probably 15 or 20 years ago. I think even alcohol use among youth is down to what it was probably 15 or 20 years ago. But I'm afraid that we're going to start seeing this kind of on the horizon. I think that we need to really just try to emphasize that. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
So we do that actually through our prevention department. So we are
Good to hear.
doing that, and we try to really educate that it's a gateway drug, and that's just a fact. Statistically, that's a scientific fact. So nobody can
Absolutely.
argue. Well, they can try to argue, but it is a scientific fact. So what that means is if you start using marijuana, then typically, I won't say always, but typically that leads to you using other drugs, harder drugs, more difficult drugs to get off of. And so we do educate through our prevention department, trying, again, you all have heard me talk about how important prevention is. I view prevention as just as important as treatment, because if we can stop just one person before they go down that path, whether it's mental health, whether it's substance use, then we've done our job, quite frankly, because that's one person that doesn't need long-term care. That's one person that may not commit suicide, that may not die by a drug overdose, and that's one family that may not have to suffer that loss. So we do that. To answer your question, I'm happy to do more. If there's something you guys would like to see, I'm always open, to increase in that, but we do it through our prevention department.
I'd love to see whatever we can come up with
Okay.
as a city, with the school
Yeah.
system, with you all, to really just educate people on, things like cannabis-induced
Yeah.
psychosis, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing.
Well, they're laced a lot of times now too.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
a-
the thing, not knowing necessarily what you're getting. You may think you're just getting cannabis and it's clean, but it may be laced with something else, which leads to more serious situations, potential
Sure.
overdoses.
And
And it can be on your first time. I mean, the issue with the gummies, I know everybody around here knows that,
Absolutely.
a lot of times, like I tell my son, don't take any food, anything from anybody. I constantly preach that to him because you never know. And the kid may not even know. So it's very important to educate and make sure that our youth are aware of the dangers and the risks.
Sure. And I think the concern comes from the retail market. It seems to be around the
Mhm.
corner, and that's
Yeah.
something that we're going to have to figure out how to deal with. And if we can get ahead of it in any way, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to
Okay.
do that and how to start.
Education. Honestly, education is key. Sometimes with youth, just really showing them the risks puts enough fear in them that they may think twice. When the friend is at the party and they're saying, oh, it's not a big deal, just one time. No, it can be a big deal. One time can be your life. And so educating them on that sometimes makes, again, one child think twice.
That's right.
So,
Thank you so much.
yes, of course.
I'm so grateful for what y'all do and the growth of the program and the new facility. One of the things I would love to see y'all do, and I don't know if you do it, something that I've been trying to get the state to help with for 3 years. I know Pelica Walker has attempted, but it got shot down. Secondhand marijuana smoke.
Yeah.
With children. And, I sat with a team of doctors. They verified it's a terrible thing. It is damaging children. We are seeing kids coming into our schools daily who have been exposed to it in the mornings before
Mhm.
school from caregivers, parents, whoever it is, and are coming to school legitimately high, young children. We're talking 6 and 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it's causing, lung damage and neurological damage and nervous system damage. And the Medical Academy or the Medical Society of Virginia passed a resolution documenting these things. People want to argue with me all the time. I'm not a doctor, but the doctors did say
Right.
it's happening. Okay.
Right.
And so any type of support we can get that can be passed out at your facilities, or we can partner
Yeah.
with other facilities in the city that are just helping users be educated that have children in the home, explaining, hey, this is real. This is, secondhand marijuana smoke is obviously dangerous to anybody that you're around.
Yeah.
Just like when we finally learned that
And
secondhand,
smoke. Yeah.
cigarette smoke was
Yeah.
dangerous, and all of a sudden everybody had to smoke outside. They had to,
Yeah.
have we just changed the rules once we understood it was dangerous, and now we're learning it's dangerous.
Oh.
I think that would be wonderful to see. I would love to see maybe what you have on that and what you could help educate others with, because I think if you're a facility that is more renowned for knowledge, people
Yeah,
might start
yeah.
listening.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't want to hear
yeah,
it from me, but we're seeing it. It is happening, and it is true. So, maybe-
So again, we do it through our prevention department. We
Mhm.
don't have like a flyer, but I can work on that.
Yeah.
Putting together a flyer. So we do that quite frequently where we'll put together like a trifold brochure or something for multiple services. So I can work on that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to all your
Thank you
hard
all.
work.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, so that wraps up our overview among our nonprofit partners. We're so grateful for them. Of course, Horizon Behavioral Health is one of our external service providers, which is funded directly through your budget allocation, and also the direct support to the Crisis Care Center. So,
Sir, thank you, sir.
and we're really, we'll just, as we wrap up the theme of prepping for an event, I'll also say, Melissa Lucy was one of the first calls our emergency management team made when we saw the pending snow event, because people cooped up and providing access to these care services. And she and her team are always so responsive and helpful for us on
Yeah,
that.
praise
So,
God.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're moving on to business item briefings. Repeals court update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. So what I have on my agenda is next, the outdated procurement ordinance. Is that, okay. So Ms. Suter has graciously agreed to allow me to present this evening. I have run this ordinance by the finance folks. I know Donna has seen it. I know Stephanie and I, of course, have worked together on this. Really what this is a repeal of some very old language that's in our city code that has either been replaced by the state code or this chapter 18.1 that is the new updated procurement information. So really this is also probably part of a two-part process where we're planning on requesting the repeal of this ordinance. And I, of course, in the future will end up working with finance and doing an update of chapter 18.1 to make sure we're, of course, in line with state law and in full. So that's basically what this is. It's an administrative cleanup, part one of two parts, essentially.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any questions? No discussion? Okay. Number 5, citywide youth curfew ordinance extension. Chief Edwards. I like saying that, Chief Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and members of council. City Council approved a citywide youth curfew ordinance on May 23rd, 2023, which went into effect May 26, 2023. The intent of the ordinance was threefold: to reduce juvenile-related violence and crime, 2, to promote the safety and well-being of youth under the age of 18, and 3, to reinforce parental responsibility. As written, the ordinance includes a sunset provision and is scheduled to automatically expire March 2nd, 2026. The curfew applies from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. The ordinance also includes several clear and reasonable exceptions, including when a minor is accompanied by a parent, involved in an emergency, traveling to and from work, exercising constitutional rights, or acting at the direction of a parent. These provisions were intentionally included to ensure the curfew is both balanced and fair. Based on the data we've collected and our experience since implementation, I'm recommending that council extend the sunset date of the citywide youth curfew ordinance from March 2nd, 2026 to March 2nd, 2027. Since the curfew went into effect, Lynchburg Police Department has charged 61 individuals, as you see on the chart there, with curfew violations. And I view this not as a lack of enforcement, looking at the dates there as far as the years, but as an indication that the ordinance is largely working as it was intended to. The vast majority of our youth are exactly where they should be overnight, and they're in compliance with the curfew. For the relatively small number who choose to risk violating it, this ordinance gives officers a lawful and appropriate way to intervene, both to hold juveniles accountable and, just as importantly, to protect them from the risks associated with being out late hours of the night. To better illustrate the impact of the curfew, I'd like to draw your attention to the slide that's up now. It compares the reported criminal offenses involving juvenile offenders during curfew hours before and after the ordinance was adopted. Using a comparable timeframes, our crime analysts examined offenses occurring prior to the curfew from January 1, 2021 through May 25, 2023. And then also offenses occurring after the adoption from May 26, 2023 through December 31st, 2025. The data show a significant reduction in both violent and property crime involving juvenile offenders during the curfew hours. Violent crime is down 77% and property crime is down 79%. even when expanding the analysis to include all reported offenses involving juvenile offenders during all hours of the day, the same time periods, we continue to see a substantial reduction. So in closing, the citywide youth curfew continues to be an effective tool for officers to protect our youth and address delinquent behavior. Based on the results we are seeing, I respectfully recommend extending the ordinance through March 2nd, 2027. And you see in that chart there, just looking at overall crime, all violent crime was down almost 11% in 2025 compared to 2024. And all property crime was down nearly 5% in 2025 compared to previous year. And I like to look at 5-year averages as well. And violent crime has down 14% from the 5-year average, which is encouraging. So, and there's a variety of reasons for that, but one I believe is the youth curfew ordinance. So thank you for your time.
Any discussion? Ms. Reed?
Great numbers. That's good to hear. And I think, there was concern initially that by having it too long, maybe it would not be as effective. But in your opinion, and what it looks like is it's still staying effective. So I think, I support your professional opinion, Chief. And I think the numbers are speaking for themselves, and that's encouraging.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Waller?
Yes, thank you for the information. Really appreciate it. Have you come across any instances where it had a negative effect, where people were accused wrongly of something of that nature or anything of that kind?
No negative effects that I'm aware of. No, at all. I mean, there's exceptions to this ordinance, and I think those help with that as well. So there are certainly reasons why juveniles under the age of 18 could be out during those hours, and I think the ordinance as it's written allows for that and without any negative effects.
I think one thing it does, it gives you more tools. Like we talk about our toolkit, like a poverty toolkit or whatever, it gives you more tools in our toolkit to assist our community. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Timmer?
Thank you, Chief Edwards. Appreciate the presentation and congratulations again.
Thank you.
When we last approved the curfew, the school was in a lot of transition as far as a new superintendent search. Some of these other components were kind of transitioning in the city. And so I was wondering if now that things are settling a little bit, and well, now we're transitioning with your post, if there's opportunity to get some key individuals together to explore what are some more comprehensive ways or collaborative ways that we can address some of these issues from more of a preventative standpoint. And so that there's the front end and the back end to how we bring these things together. I appreciate the numbers and I want to look into this further. I'm of the opinion that a perpetual youth curfew is probably not what is best for city, even just from a business recruitment standpoint, if we're to take that approach. And so exploring some of these elements as far as how we wrap around or collaborate to address the needs, make sure that your officers are equipped with what they need, but also we're addressing this from a preventative standpoint. So I kick that over to you all as far as maybe pulling something together, but I know I would love to be involved in that kind of a discussion. Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Councilmember Timmer. It would be good to kind of maybe see what's an off-ramp look like. What's the next phase? What do we do next? I think that's a good thing, and I'm inclined to say that's probably should be an important piece of our discussions moving forward. Is what do we do to get off this?
Thank you. And if I may just comment on that was part of the reason that with the proposal that I recommended just a year instead of a permanent ordinance to allow to look at the data and also look at an off ramp like you suggested.
Thank you.
Ms. Reed?
Are there, I think one of the things when we're considering that off ramp is, cities or localities that only apply the curfews like in summertime, where we automatically see an increase in crime anyway with youth. crime, are looking at just seasonal or just some of those different options. I mean, obviously there's got to be something that we do, while of course keeping it consistent, like forever is not beneficial, but also looking at our peak times when we see an increase during some of the winter months too. Obviously that's for crime in general, but with our youth, it tends to be, I think we saw the summer months are typically when we've seen, in the past, historically, an increase. So I think getting some of that data, before we have to make an ultimate decision is important. And
Sure. And one thing I would, just thinking this through right here, that I would be cautious of is that if it's certain time periods, it's well known. We've educated the community about it. It's well known that we have the curfew in place. And if it's taken away and then it's seasonal,
sure,
we got to really get out in front of that to educate, because then it would have an unintended consequence, I think, of actually you would be enforcing it when they didn't realize it was back in effect.
True. And I do have one question we didn't talk about in the charts. I know there were questions about, weapons and drugs and all that. I think previous slides had some of that information in it. In this last, I guess in 2025, do you have those numbers and any type of that? Did we see a large number of weapons or drugs confiscated in any of those arrests, or was it really just violation for time?
It's violations. I will say that there have been instances where juveniles who were in violation of this were actually apprehended and charged with crimes that occurred during these hours, and so that they were charged with the criminal offenses, and it was not just kind of like, not to look like piling on, and at that point the juvenile was in safe custody, so that additional charge was not placed on them.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, Chief, how will we get off of this? Would you reach back into the broader community and say, this is what we are doing, and have an opinion poll done of the citizens that wanted this in the first place?
That could be helpful, yes, as far as getting community input as to.
That's the route.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because it was the citizens that asked me for it. It wasn't Larry Taylor idea. So, thank you, sir. Anybody else for the chief?
Chair.
Okay. Number 6, Councilman Missions, Safe Haven baby boxes, Marty Missions.
I think the staff is going to take care of this, Mr. Mayor.
How you doing, Chief?
I'm doing okay. I hope you are.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, I'll give you a brief synopsis on the Safe Haven Baby Box program. I think we provided that in your packet or through email chain. But before I begin with my remarks, I would like to thank several of the committee members that have been serving on the Safe Haven Baby Box Committee for at least 2 years now, and several of them are here. And just wave your hand. I just want to acknowledge you and say I appreciate your efforts. Safe Haven, under Virginia law, a parent may safely and legally relinquish an unharmed infant less than 30 days old at a designated 24-hour emergency services location. And clearly this includes a fire station. This option is intended to protect, obviously, the life and well-being of the child while also providing a safe alternative for parents in crisis. And no questions are asked, and at the time of surrender, and the parent will not face any criminal charges when the law is followed. So the Lynchburg Fire Department is looking at the Safe Haven baby box as a vessel to provide a parent with the dignity and, anonymity, I guess, of presenting the child. Currently, we have, they can come up to a fire station and a firefighter and have done that. So this provides a more discreet way of doing that. And again, it also protects the parents when they're in a crisis with a safe and legal option to surrender a newborn and help prevent, obviously, dangerous abandonment. So from a public safety perspective and the fire department's perspective, we're certainly in support of this. They're a practical tool with certainly the potential to save lives. Where we're at right now, the fire department has been working with the city attorney's office to look at lease agreements to see how we can get those arranged in such a way that's able to move this project forward. We're working with an anonymous donor who, if they're listening out there, I just want to say thank you for your interest to contribute to the potential to save a life in our community. They've agreed to the upfront cost of providing the box for the fire station. And we've been working with several contractors with an interest in potentially donating some services. We're looking at Fire Station 2 as the alternative. And the primary reason for that is it's on the bus line. It's proximity to 29. Right now, there's only, best of our knowledge, one other location, Safe Haven Baby Box in Virginia, and that's at a hospital. And that's at Carilion in Roanoke. And so we would be the first fire department in Virginia. But if you look at the over 400 baby boxes nationwide, the vast majority of those are at fire stations. Hospitals and police stations are the other two that make up the locations where the Safe Haven baby boxes can be. So where we're at, we're reviewing again the legal requirements found in the lease agreements. There's an exhibit, I think, that we're waiting on from Safe Haven that was missing from that. And then there's a couple other issues that we're trying to work through to make this a strong possibility for us. And with your support, we're certainly willing to move forward with this project in a way that hopefully we can accomplish fairly quickly. I'll take any questions you might have.
Ms. Reedy?
Thank you. So I've read a lot about these and seen about how they've been used around the country, and I think it's a great idea. So the version of the baby box that you're looking into, is it the kind that like the person would put the baby in there and there's a like immediately alarm goes off on the other side? Can you explain how it works?
Yes, so that's exactly how it works. So there's a box that's located on the outside of a fire station. I apologize for leaving that important detail out, but there is a box on the fire station that a parent could put their baby in. They would get information. So, for example, the parent could decide or have that information and see where they may need to go get medical help as well. But the box is located on the side of the fire station or the police station or the hospital, as it were, and they put the child in, the baby in, and then close the door. And generally within 2 minutes, the alarms go off naturally. They notify our public safety answering point, and other alarms go off inside, in our case, the fire station, and would alert staff that a baby is in the Safe Haven box, and we would then retrieve it, turn it over to the hospital staff and social services and things of that nature. So that's exactly how it is. Once they shut the door, it does lock, alarms go off. And so those are, you bring about a point that I should have mentioned, and I apologize, but those are the reoccurring costs, and that's why I think your support means so much, because aside from the alarms, there's a maintenance fee that goes along with that, and as well as that, there's a general liability insurance policy that has to be maintained as well. So, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
You did, yeah. Because I think, again, if you haven't kind of seen one in action, like, and I've watched videos, like I said before, how that works, and I think it's really cool. But just for people that haven't maybe seen how they're set up, kind of the idea of what a baby box, kind of hard to envision how it works and how someone knows baby's in there,
Yeah.
on the other side. So it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a wonderful tool again for someone that's in crisis, to know that there's a way to do that. And then that the baby is safely put somewhere, and, and that you guys are there to take care of an infant, obviously a newborn in the situation. So I think it's something we should support. Absolutely. I'm glad that there's a donor out there willing to help with the upfront costs. That's incredible. Do you know what the kind of annual fee that we would be supporting would be for those maintenance fees?
I don't know the precise
no.
fee. I know there's $1,000 of a maintenance fee that's payable directly to Safe Haven, as I understand it. And then in addition to that, again, whatever the alarm prevailing rates for the alarm companies are and the general liability insurance, which we would work with the city attorney's office on. I should acknowledge also that when this began over 2 years ago, Chief Wormser was highly instrumental in this, and I want to acknowledge him for his leadership and role in this. I myself am fairly new to this project. I picked up on this in December after becoming interim chief, so I do want to mention Chief Wormser, all he meant to this.
Great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, thank you. Wow, this is great news to hear that you were able to jump right in and kind of give us such a great update so quick. And I want to thank the members of the committee that are here. I see a couple of them, Zach Foster in the back. I think April Watson was also involved. I don't know who else is here that was involved, but I know was speaking with those folks. I do have great news to report. I'm actually in contact with the intermediary for the donor right now. The donor is watching. The donor is willing to do that. So whatever you guys legally figure out to make that happen, that would be fantastic. I appreciate the effort, the work that you put into this. I think this is a really big deal. And, I was really concerned that it might have slipped through the cracks, which is why I brought it up 2 weeks ago. And I'm glad you all were able to hop on it and figure this out and get us all this information so quickly, where we're just kind of, looks like once we get some things worked out, and I'm pretty confident that we can figure out a way to absorb that maintenance fee once we get this done.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Dr. Waller.
Yes, thank you for the information. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the donor who's supporting the cost. What is the cost of the baby box?
It's for the box itself, it's $15,000, and then the cost to install it.
Okay, wow. I need to watch it. I've never seen it in operation, so I'm curious to see that. So I'm interested. I was wondering how I'm just curious how that works. Other question, and then my other question was about the maintenance fee. So thank you for information on that as well. You mentioned there's one in Roanoke. How many babies have been, placed there? Do you know?
I don't have that number. You're talking about the one in Roanoke?
Yes, sir.
I don't have that number. I think it's relatively new.
Okay.
0 so far.
Okay, great.
But I know that one, and part of the issues that we are working around is you're not able to have a video camera pointed near the box. And so I think theirs is in a parking deck, as I understand it. I have not been to visit that.
Okay.
Captain Foster, I know, has been to one, but I believe that was in North Carolina, which at the time was the closest one to us.
Right. Thank you. Thank you to the team that worked on the project. We appreciate it. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Mr. Deemer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for the fire department's willingness to stand up and be part of this. I think it matches the culture of our beautiful city very well. Lynchburg loves to save a baby, and I have hopes that this will do that. I actually think it will. And I want to make sure that we maybe consider that there might be some costs involved in promoting this, either using our communications department or other. Sometimes if nobody even knows it's there, it's not going to be utilized. So we need to maybe build in some funds to make sure people that might need it are aware that it's there. I also like the fact that there's going to be material in there for the mother, for her health, that hopefully will be judgment free and get her the help she needs. She may really need to help keep her healthy as well. So that's great. I love that priority. So thank you to the fire department and the donor and the team that put this together. Thanks to everyone.
It's our pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I've heard people put baby in it just a couple hours old, They would be born and they take it and put it in one of those boxes. And and they didn't have alarms, but the baby let them know that she was there. But thank you. And thank everybody for wanting to do this.
It's our pleasure.
Precious is the life of a baby.
Amen.
There's nothing like it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mitchell. Oh, Ms. Timmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I deferred because he had raised his hand earlier, but I do just want to express gratitude and support for this project. Thanks to everyone who's been working on this behind the scenes. I think it's invaluable. So thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
Mr. Missions has something else.
Do you have any idea on timeline on this?
I think it's after receipt of order. I think it's 8 weeks. At least that's the advertised latest advertisement that I got from them, but I don't know if that's changed. So we would check that as soon as we get the agreement signed and ready to go. But I would think certainly by summertime, we could be, at the very latest, we could be celebrating the install.
Sure. And is there gonna be any council action we need for this?
I suspect that the donated gift is going to be something that the council is going to have to take up. And I don't know the amount. I know it's been 10 grand where I've been previously, that usually underneath that we can accept. But I think there's going to be that element, or at least that intersect for council as far as receiving the funds to meet the expenses associated.
Is there some kind of, I guess, timeline we should put on that council action?
Absolutely.
I'm curious, asking you if there's, I guess what should we anticipate as the timeline for that? Because I think there's some folks that probably want to be there for that. That's the only reason I'd say they're watching right now. They would want to be there if we have to take any.
Sure. What I was happy to hear, Mr. Missions, was that the maintenance thing was being thrown in as well, and so we want to make sure we have the right number. But I defer as far as the number.
Yeah, my understanding is that the funds would be transferred, and I don't know if this makes a difference, but the funds would be transferred directly to Safe Haven, and so I don't know that they would necessarily need to pass through here. So if that makes it easier or complicates it, I'll leave that up to you, but I just wanted to offer that.
We'll work with the finance department as soon as possible, as far as whatever
Sure.
the amount is and whatever the instrument is, because I think we know where it's going, what it costs. I think we're close on the contractor, and we'll absolutely do it ahead of time so that people can be made aware and be present for the opportunity at council.
Yeah, I think the folks that are trying to, and especially the team, recognizing the team that's been a part of doing this with the fire department, the chief, and everybody else, April Watson, I think she's still back there. All the work that they put into it, and then also the people from the community that have been involved that want to participate. I think it would be appropriate to recognize them in a formal meeting, whether we have to take council action or not. But let's make sure.
And maybe we won't, but we'll make sure at least. If we
Whatever
do
we
not,
need
we'll
to
have a
do.
recognition component.
Absolutely, because I think it's a huge deal, and I appreciate all the work you guys have done and for bringing this back to us so quick with such great information. Thank you.
Happy to do it.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
You have a blessed day.
You too.
Thank you. I found a video for Dr. Waller to watch so you can see how one works. Yeah, it's cool. So you guys can look on Safe Haven baby boxes online, and it shows you how it works.
Item number 7, Councilmember Ferrari. Cooperating state and federal authorities.
Thank you, Mayor.
Cooperating with.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. So this before us is very simple. I'm going to walk through a brief outline, and then this will be up at a future meeting for us to consider. Why is this before us? The governor signed an executive order that said that she was removing the mandate that local governments, local police departments cooperate with federal law enforcement. What does that mean? And what does that resolution attached in your agenda do? If you look at the attached memo from October of 2025, this resolution would set the expectation that things would stay as is in the city. We would continue to cooperate with federal law enforcement. Now, what does that not mean? That does not mean that we would be sending our officers out to do the work of Immigration's Custom Enforcement and on our dime. That's not what this would mean. What this would mean, as I interpret it, if a federal agency had to come into the city of Lynchburg, FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, anyone in between, any of those agencies, our officers would have this expectation that they've had through the last number of years. This is the same expectation that they would essentially provide cover. If a federal agency was to come in and do their job, they would be made aware, they would cooperate, do their law enforcement thing, and everyone would leave and call it a day. Now, what I would contend is if you look at around the country, a lot of the places that these very sad stories are coming out and being politicized by both parties is where local police departments are not cooperating. See, what would happen in Lynchburg is if someone had to come in from a federal side to do a job, you would have local government creating a barrier. They're not going in and doing the job for the feds. They're not doing anything other than they normally would have done or have been doing the last number of years. But what we would see is if someone wanted to protest the feds doing their job, hey, be my guest. Actually, what we've seen in Lynchburg, Mayor, if you recall, we've had a number of protests where LPD has been so accommodating that they've actually created places for those for, those against, to be able to get their voice out and make their message heard. And then that agency would leave and our police officers would go back to their business. I see it as important in adopting this because it sets the expectation that business is as usual in Lynchburg. The only thing that has changed here is the decision from the governor, from Richmond. So I think in this climate, it's important to take a step back, look at this from a very pragmatic perspective. This council should, I believe, should look at this situation and say, we expect that level of cooperation to continue. I do want to address this point because I know it's been shared before. It's being, at least I interpret it as, well, it's either we adopt a 287G immigration agreement with the feds, or we don't adopt this resolution or do adopt this. These are not mutually exclusive. Okay. What this is it sets the expectation for a manager in the police department about how to cooperate moving forward. That's what's before you. And I think it's critically important that we set an example to both those on the far left, far right, about how a pragmatic approach to a politically charged issue can be handled. We're going to cooperate. If you want to protest, hey, great. You now have an extra level of safety between your protest, those doing their jobs, and they can leave. And everyone's gotten their objective done for the day. That's the heart behind it. That's the intent. If there's questions about my vision for it, I'd be happy to answer it. But if there's any other legal ramifications, we have our attorney or anything of that nature, we can certainly point to staff.
Chief Edwards, come back and speak to this issue. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
The issue on the table is cooperating with the federal government, ICE.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and members of council. So we are not at the LPD part of the 287G program, but we assist ICE just like we do with other federal partners on criminal matters. We've assisted them even during my tenure as interim chief leading up to this point. So we already have a partnership with ICE. And several months ago, just to make sure and improve communication with ICE and with the LPD, we actually established a point of contact. We have a point of contact with ICE in the Salem office. The Salem office has a point of contact at the Lynchburg Police Department, so that helps just improve communication and improve that partnership. So joining the 287G program, it actually would take away from public safety here in Lynchburg. That's my estimation. And when I say public safety, just to give you an example, last year, the Emergency Communication Center, they received nearly 130,000 calls at the ECC that they then triaged, whether it was just non-emergency calls, 911 calls. They actually triaged nearly 130,000 calls. Then the Lynchburg Police Department, my men and women at the LPD, responded to nearly 69,000 calls for service. To join the 287G program would actually take officers away from supporting patrol, from enforcing local and state criminal laws, from partnerships that we have in the community, and potentially move those officers out of the area, out of the city, across the state, maybe even out of state, because when we spoke with the ICE supervisor, we were given no assurances that if you entered into that MOA, that memorandum of agreement, that those officers would only be tasked with federal civil immigration matters in the city. That the expectation would be that when ICE calls, Lynchburg officers are going to go. And again, that takes away from public safety. It takes Lynchburg police officers away from public safety in the city of Lynchburg. And we already have a partnership with them and assist them.
So we don't have any problems assisting ICE if you arrested somebody and knowing that they were illegal and violent here in Lynchburg, you wouldn't have any problems turning them over to ICE.
No, sir. And I can give you an example of that. It's been within the last 6 months. We actually responded to a malicious wounding here in the city. It was a stabbing. I'm sorry. I'm not sure exactly the location, but the suspect was determined. He was arrested on the stabbing, and he was Hispanic, and it was determined that he was actually unlawfully present here in the country, and he was arrested on the malicious wounding and sent over to Blue Ridge Regional Jail, where he was then processed there. Other individuals who were involved were Hispanic as well, the victim, witnesses, and it was based on the victim calling us and witnesses cooperating with us that we were able to put that case together. That potentially wouldn't happen if we were on a 287G initiative where we're going out and just checking immigration status on individuals. We were there for a criminal offense, a call for service, and then it developed into that. But it absolutely is a case where we did cooperate, and the individual was turned over to Blue Ridge Regional Jail, and then they took it over from there as far as any kind of detainers or anything with ICE.
Yes, sir. Dr. Wild. Oh,
question. Thank you for the information. I appreciate it. Just to our city attorney. So the resolution before us does not include 287G, correct?
It does not.
So it basically gets back to what we normally do, is cooperate with federal authorities.
Yes.
So what we already do anyway.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I wish you would have had an opportunity to attend the Teams meeting I invited you to last night. But the Vice Mayor was able to be present and actually had a Teams meeting today with the acting unit chief for enforcement and removal operations at ICE headquarters in Washington, D.C. for the 287G event. And some of the things that I've just got some highlights, and there's supposed to be something in writing coming to us pretty soon, was that we were told that the MOAs can be tailored to whatever the local needs would be. That there would be no requirement to send people outside of the area. And one thing he praised Captain Clements, I guess, for some communications they had back in September last year, and that staffing can dictate participation in the program. That it's not necessarily like a requirement. That all the time is reimbursed. So what was shared with us, a lot of this is very easy to find on the 287G program page. There's a $7,500 stipend per officer for equipment. There's a $100,000 one-time payout for transportation needs. And then all of the staff time that our local officers do toward it, which can be done all off-duty overtime, is reimbursed up to 100% per officer of a salary and 25% overtime. That the training is free. The training is online. You don't even need to send somebody to do the training. It's only 40 hours. And the information that we received today was just really, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we already have officers assigned to DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals task forces, things like that? Is that correct?
We do.
So, you can have as few as one officer with that tool. And one of the things that Dr. Wilder mentioned earlier today, he said specifically that he thought with the curfew more tools in our toolkit to keep our citizens safe is a good thing. So even if we just got one officer certified through a 287G agreement, get them trained, get the agreement in, having that tool in our toolbox, and not having to rely on just, you know, I know I spoke with one of the regional task force members over the weekend as well from Amherst County. Gave me a lot of information in depth about the work that they've done in the city with ICE, and that we don't have really the same relationship that they have in Amherst County with ICE. We don't have that here in the city. And concerns about maximizing that cooperation. So, you know, I think based on what I heard in the conversations I had today, based on what I learned from the regional task force member from Amherst County, that there's been some situations here in the city involving criminal illegal aliens. You know, I know we all remember the Raymond Wood case, right, with the 3 MS-13 gang members that were illegal aliens that brutally murdered one of our citizens, right? Giving the tools in the toolbox to our police department to be able to enforce that, to be able to do the deportation side. And I think I understand and I really appreciate where you're coming from with this, because I think you kind of hit what I was wondering about when you said you were concerned about not getting that information if we were in a 287G agreement with that situation with the malicious wounding. We've also got a responsibility to keep our citizens safe too, and I just feel like that tool is something that we could use in the toolbox. So I'm going to ask that, you know, for the next meeting that we also have, just like we've got with dual resolutions with the Second Amendment Sanctuary Agreement, I'm going to ask, because I did also ask in roll call to have information presented on the 287G, that we have a resolution or ordinance or whatever we need to initiate that intergovernmental agreement to direct staff to go ahead and start pursuing the 287G process, because I do believe that going after the criminal illegal aliens in our city and having that tool in the toolbox to exercise the deportation part of that, to start that process, I think is just going to keep our citizens safe. And I think it's something we need to look at.
May I respond?
Yes, sir.
So
please do.
Absolutely agree when you say criminal illegal aliens. And so there's no question that if someone is a public safety threat or is a criminal or is wanted for criminal offenses, regardless of immigration status, I want them off the street just as much as I'm sure you do as well.
Absolutely.
The 287G program is largely a civil matter. And so we already have that partnership. And when you mentioned the FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshal Service, yes, we have task force officers with them. And that actually brings resources into the city to investigate crimes for criminal matters, for criminal investigations that we have. This does not. We already have the partnership with them. And if someone is unlawfully present in the country and is a public safety threat, is wanted for crimes, absolutely, we're going to assist, and we have, and we've assisted ICE. And again, ICE, they do come into town, and at times they don't need our assistance. They let us know they're here, but they don't need anything. Other times they have reached out to us and they've asked for our assistance, and we've provided that. So I don't know what information you've received as far as you mentioned a regional officer from Amherst County, but we absolutely partner with ICE and have and will continue to do so. The more we have this discussion, I really feel that it's political in nature. And I can tell you as chief of police that my job is to support the men and women of the Lynchburg Police Department in the public safety that they provide to the citizens of Lynchburg. And I can't make decisions solely based on politics. I can't be a politician in this role. And so there are times where, I make hard decisions, tough decisions like this. And again, there's also must be a disconnect between the information you receive from DC headquarters and what we receive from the Salem office. So I don't know what the disconnect is there, but there were a number of things that you mentioned that was not the case. Whether some of that has been implemented since the October memo that I sent out, I don't know. Maybe some of that has changed with the incentives and benefits. I can tell you that they were absolutely, they absolutely said that that cannot be modified, that memorandum of agreement, that it's not up to local modification whatsoever. So I think there's some disconnect between DC and Salem office, but again, regardless.
Sure.
Take the training, take the reimbursements, all that. We have the partnership, and we do cooperate with ICE just like our other federal partners.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that. And it's just there was, I think, 5 people total on the meeting. It included the Virginia, whoever was over top of Virginia for ICE, and several other people. I've got the email addresses and all that stuff. I can provide that to you. But it seemed like a very big disconnect between the information we were provided. And I'm thinking what you provided may have been information that has changed. That's what I think. And I think there's more upsides in this. And it's not a political thing. Keeping our citizens safe is never political. And having a tool in the toolbox, they were very clear in that they're not using the 287G program is not being used around here to go door to door and find illegal aliens. Because, the reality is that if you're here illegally, you've committed a crime. It's a crime to cross into this country illegally. So let's just keep that in mind. But they're looking for, and they're using these tools to get people and apprehend people who are criminals, whether they have criminal histories from wherever they came from, that we may not be able to see if they have that information, or they've committed crime somewhere else. And I just think that having that, even if it's just one officer having that tool in the toolbox, I'm not saying that we need to have some, deportation task force in the Lynchburg Police Department. Not at all. And they also confirmed that the sheriff's office could do it if they wanted to. That would be another route that we could go. But it's something I think that it should be up to the council to make a decision like this when it comes to an intergovernmental agreement. I think that there's actually probably some Virginia code that would even suggest that it is our responsibility to look at that. And I'm willing to say that I think that's the right way to go, and that we should drive that policy. And that's where I'm at with it.
Mr. Attorney. I had one point or a question for clarification on
Sure.
Councilman Misgen's ask. So is the resolution you're wanting, would it be basically this 287, a direction for the 287G agreement, but on the condition that the MOU be modified in a way to have all these benefits you described, as well as to only focus on staff in the LPD being in the city of Lynchburg, not any other location?
It would be from what was described to us today, and I love to give the vice mayor an opportunity to speak to it too, because he was on the meeting as well. It would be to enter into an agreement, the 287G agreement, with at least one Lynchburg police officer being trained, right? And that would be for our local use in our local jurisdiction, to be able to use that tool. And then obviously I would leave any specifics as far as the MOU. That would obviously be between the police chief and ICE, obviously, but I do think that council should be involved in any kind of intergovernmental agreement like that.
But your thought is the MOU would be modified if you were to do a direction like this?
I will provide all the information that we received today to you all, and you guys take a look at it and see how it seems, with that to meet the needs, the local needs that we have.
Body.
Chief, thank you for your candid answers. Does anyone remember who arrested the perpetrator in the Ravenwood case?
In which case?
In the Ravenwood case? The one where it was the member of MS-13 in Bedford? Anyone remember? I'm pretty sure it was the Bedford County Sheriff's Office. Did we not just hear what the police chief said? It was the Lynchburg Police Department who arrested a violent offender who knifed somebody. We're talking about civil versus criminal. Our police chief has just said, if there's a violent crime, our people are going to get that guy or gal. And yet, I don't see a need for a police chief, quite frankly. based off of what I'm hearing. Nor a city manager, nor a deputy manager, nor rest of council, nor even the entire department. Because thank you, Lord, Mayor, we have Vice Mayor Deemer and Councilmember Mischins to just determine all of this stuff for us. That's how I take this. It's an affront, I think, to try to get this in the weeds on, well, I want at least one person doing this and I want this. And if there's a consultant coming to a fire department, I'm going to make sure I step in to make sure I give my input so that the report goes. See, that's where
Point
this
of order, Mr.
gets.
Mayor.
No, I'm not going to be cut off.
Point of
anymore
order,
by this
Mr. Mayor. I have a
idiot.
point of order.
Because the fact of the matter is,
Point of
we
order.
have staff who are supposed to do a job, have recommended that we could continue doing the job that we have been for a good long time. The only political reason this is here is because the governor decided to change the mandate.
Oh, okay, he's speaking to the subject.
No.
The
But
governor
he did
decided,
deviate.
The governor decided to change the mandate.
Yes.
My only intention here is to A, continue operations as we've had them.
Yeah.
And B, demonstrate to not just Virginia, but the entire country about what a pragmatic approach, not politically charged, can be to a very hard conversation about enforcing the law.
Yes.
It's my understanding, Mayor, that ICE would be engaging in civil considerations and taking folks off the street, not just criminal. Virginia code explicitly says we can't do that. That's what the chief is saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not mutually exclusive. We should pass this because it's so common sense. And yet it's being manipulated and twisted and changed into, well, we actually need to do all these things. And I had the conversation, and your 30 plus years in law enforcement is there's a disconnect.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Point of order.
Mr. Deemer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public safety is not political, so I just want to be clear on that. We have an obligation to the citizens of Lynchburg to keep them safe. And I did participate in the call today. I wish you had joined us. It was very informational. And there was a lot of information that we received from the head of DC, from the head of Virginia, ICE officials, the people that should know, that was directly in contradiction to the memo you put out. So whether it needs to be updated, whether something's changed, I don't know. But I certainly wish you could have been a part of that conversation. I hope you try to have that conversation again, because there's a lot of funds there that will help our budget. There's a lot of money there that will help the city of Lynchburg. It'll help police officers who want to get paid for off-duty time and a half doing this kind of work. They might actually like to do this. And it's 100% criminal, not civil, that we're talking about. It's 100% criminal activity. They have committed crimes. That's why ICE does everything that they do to deal with criminal activity. We've had it in Lynchburg. People have died in Lynchburg. I think the status quo has changed. I support what Mr. Fraldy's actually doing. Gets the conversation going. I think that's great. The conversation needs to get going. Mr. Mischins is trying to have this conversation for quite a while. I would like to have this conversation. I think that the status quo has changed, and our governor changed the status quo, because no longer are state police going to be filling this role. So that leaves a vacuum. When the state police aren't going to be doing it, who's going to be doing it? So anytime there's a vacuum in public safety, I think it needs to be filled. I think somebody needs to fill it. And I would like to set an expectation tonight that I believe in the 287G program. That's the way you cooperate with ICE. That's how they've defined the rules of the field. We need to make sure you understand the rules of the field, that they explain the rules of the field well to you, and that we move forward with correct information as a council as to what the rules of the field really are. Because what I heard on the phone today was very clearly not what I'd heard before. And I think the fact that the training is free, $100,000 they'll give Lynchburg, to help with this process for transportation, I think that's amazing. I don't want to leave that money on the table, Mr. City Manager. I think we got to fill the vacuum that the governor's left. And I think 287G is a reasonable way to do it. A lot of localities do it. There's a city in Virginia that has done it. There's jails, regional jails that are cooperating in this way. And this is the way we cooperate with ICE. And I want to cooperate with ICE. I think that's the right thing to do. They're enforcing a law that the citizens of America passed. There's some people in certain areas that don't want to enforce the existing law. Our founders gave us a way to deal with that. It's called change the law. But as long as the laws on immigration exist and ICE is responsible for enforcing them, I want to be part of that process. And I don't want to step out of the way when they come to town. I want to provide them with protection, because the areas where the local police officers aren't providing protection are where chaos is broken out. And I don't want chaos in Lynchburg. I want public safety. I want people protected. I want to make sure you are fully aware of the ICE offerings and money and program and ability to help make Lynchburg safe. So I would just encourage you to reestablish those conversations and check out what we heard versus what you wrote, and let's make sure we get the right information to council, because all we do is get information. We're not telling anybody what to do. We're not getting into the weeds. We did our due diligence to see what the federal program involved, because we're in favor of the federal program. We shouldn't be criticized for that. That's due diligence. That's what we're supposed to do. This is a public safety issue. It should be top of our agenda. And Mr. Misions invited me to join that call, and I'm glad he did. But I want to make my expectations clear. 287G is the way you cooperate with law enforcement. And I don't want force on force problems because there isn't full cooperation with the federals, whether it's ATF, whether it's any of these agencies, FBI, CIA, whatever. I want to work with them. I don't want them to question that we want to support them in their legitimate attempts to enforce actual law. If we don't like the law, there's a way to do it. We change the law. We don't ignore the law. We don't just do what some states have done. We've got to make sure we've enforced the law, especially when it's a national federal law. So. Yes, I'm done.
I didn't want to.
Yeah, he was done.
Cut you off.
Mayor says I'm done. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support what Mr. Feraldi has brought forward. I also do want to acknowledge that what Mr. Mischens has brought forward does not convolute what Mr. Feraldi has brought forward. He said it himself. They can work in tandem or not. That was part of his original presentation. So I do just want to identify that. I believe that the request was to bring this forward as an agenda item, as is the purview of an individual council member following the rules of procedure. And so I believe that this is a discussion that we need to engage in. Again, not a convolution of the agenda item that I support and agree with that Mr. Feraldi has brought forward. So I don't see that confusion as necessary. And I appreciate your taking the initiative and reaching out to our new chief and the efforts that have been made in communication in order to include city staff. We're seeing a pattern where there's conflicting information. That's not an accusation. That's not it's not an accusation. It's how do we fix this? How do we have that conversation? But the conversation about those issues is getting shut down, and it's moving to a place where it's about personal attacks rather than the issue that's trying to be brought to the table. So this is absolutely a discussion that we need to have, regardless of how that's ruffling feathers. It's essential for us in our role as city council. And those elements can be ironed out. Those communication channels, what have you, can be ironed out, but it's part of our responsibility, especially when an agenda item is brought to the table in the appropriate manner, that we address that agenda item. So I don't see these components as mutually exclusive. I don't see them in conflict. I see it as part of a larger conversation that it's our responsibility to have, and I will be supporting Mr. Feraldi's agenda item.
Mr. Attorney.
I guess, Mayor, what I would be looking for, and I certainly hear Ms. Timmer with things coming up. But I do also think there's a place in work session for council to give staff guidance on what should be brought back, to be on a formal meeting for a vote. So certainly, okay. Okay.
Not to be disrespectful,
That's
but
okay.
we're not ready to even get there yet.
I got
Just
you.
hold on. So I appreciate what you said, Ms. Timmer, because I think there's a lot to unpack there, but I want to be respectful of time. There's got to be a separation between doing due diligence, which I think is fair as our positions of elected officials, and also respecting the roles of the professionals that head our departments and their expertise. As far as I know, no one at this table has ever been a chief of police with 30 years experience. Yes or no? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Has anybody at this table been, aside from obviously you, has anybody here at this table been a city manager before, aside from Winter? Anyone? No? Anybody at this table been a city attorney at this table? Anybody besides Mr. Friedman? No? Anybody at this table been a fire chief? No. I could go on because you get my point. Yet we constantly criticize the heads of departments that are here to give us their expert. No, this is
So I have a
Nope.
an obligate a rule.
So I
There's
am
a
here
rule that allows
I
me to call
am
point of
talking
order.
about
Point of
our
order, but
chief of
she's
police.
addressing the
Point
issue.
of order is for decorum.
And-
She
Yes.
is saying that we are criticizing people.
I
There
am
has been no
speaking
criticism.
to our chief of
Yes.
police.
And I'm asking you to rule on
And
point of order.
I am
She had the right to
addressing
speak.
him
I'm
on,
ruling.
thank you, he's ruled.
That's not.
So the concern here
On the table.
is that
That was not.
our chief of police has given his opinion. He did not get the same information that now is being brought to our attention, that now two of our elected officials are saying should guide and direct what needs to come back without him having the same knowledge. That he, as a chief and someone in law enforcement for 30 years, would be the right person to hear and interpret and come back and say, okay, now that I've heard this information that I wasn't present to hear, that is my whole background and my field of expertise, I was unaware of it. So you guys who heard it, and that's great you heard it, he hasn't heard it. Let him find the information out as well and come back to another work session with his now information and let us know what he thinks. Because no offense, I don't want y'all interpreting for us what you think. Correct, but he doesn't know because he wasn't there. And he shouldn't, if he's a good chief of police, have someone else interpreting. I wouldn't want you to. You're giving him guidance on something he doesn't know anything about. He literally said the last thing he read was from October. So what he needs to do now is do his homework. And that's what I would ask you to do. I don't want anything voted on. I don't think we should. I think we should ask our expert to find out what they've heard and find out what the updates are so that you're comfortable, because you are our expert. And you're the person that we're trying to ask to make decisions for our citizens in the cases of if ICE came into the city or whatever. And I think that's what we need you for. So you need to have the same information, but you need to have heard it directly, not us interpreting it for you. As much as they've heard it and they think, however they heard it, but that is your job now, Chief. And so I think the fair thing to do is you go back and find out what you can find out, come back to us and let us know. And then we'll have this conversation again. That's the fair thing to do. You interpret it for us because you are the expert here in law enforcement. You would know how to apply this. And then we can take Mr. Feraldi's version and do what and Ms. Timmer said is let's then hash it out then. And then we go from there, because I don't want anybody else interpreting this for me. None of us, the only two of the council members were in this conversation. We weren't all there. I would like you, the expert, to come back and tell us. That is my recommendation. Mayor, we're not voting obviously during a work session anyway. But Chief, how do you feel about that? I mean, is that something that you feel comfortable doing? I
can certainly follow up and see what has changed since the October 20th, 2025 memo that I sent. But I can tell you one thing that hasn't changed, even with the discussions today, is the fact that the 287G program would take Lynchburg police officers out of the city of Lynchburg, where they would be no longer providing public safety, answering calls for service, or partnering with the community on anything, because they could potentially be who knows where under that. And that's under a federal civil immigration program. Individuals who come into the country illegally, as I understand it, that is a civil infraction. If they are deported and then they come back into the country, that's a crime. So that's a crime at that point. But again, we are tasked with public safety, with the calls for service, providing public safety, enforcing criminal laws, local and state criminal laws, traffic laws. As far as any kind of civil process does not fall under the Lynchburg Police Department for civil process on administrative warrants. And that is my concern, that again, it takes resources away, but the calls for service are still there. The expectations from the community to have public safety, it's still there. And we won't have it if we have resources diverted.
Right. How many officers are we short currently?
I'm going off the top of my head, but I think we're around 15 police officers
Right.
vacancies.
And when we talk about being short, that is just to be at like bare minimum. That's to kind of just fill some departments or some offices, one deep. It's not to have like a ton of people kind of on the bench. It's just to kind of get us where we need to be.
Right. That would put us at our full authorized staff of 182, which, there's arguments too that certainly we could need more officers to provide public safety.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Timmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do just want to highlight again that disagreement is not disrespect, especially when it's brought forward appropriately in the context of questions and there's an effort for conversation. Those conversations should not be shut down. They need to be had. That's the responsibility of council. It is our responsibility to engage with experts, but it is our responsibility to deliberate and then come forward and vote publicly. And that's the beauty of the political process, that we are politically accountable for the votes that we have and the decisions that we make. So as individual council members, it is Mr. Mischin's right and in many ways duty as a council member to bring forward items to the agenda for a vote. And so shutting down that process cripples us as a council. It's not speaking on behalf of other council members. We speak as council members from the dais and we speak with our votes. So shutting down the ability to bring forward something appropriately according to our rules of procedure to the agenda is absolutely necessary for us to function as a council. That's what I want to speak in support of right now. Again, I really want to understand the fullness of what's being brought forward, because there is a conflict in the information that's coming. Where that conflict or that incongruence is coming from, we don't know, but it's our job to find out as council, because we have to decide on it. And it's important that we decide on it. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the recognition.
Mr. Mission.
Thank you.
Mr. Deemer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to be humbly clear that the information we learned today, what was I supposed to do? Not share it? I mean, we wanted you there. It would have been great if you're there, because what you would have heard is that you would not lose control of any officers. No officer will go anywhere without your authority. ICE has no control over your officers, and I would never be in support of ICE being in control of your officers. They would not leave Lynchburg, or what did you say, the state? I mean, or the country? That's not what this is about. This is about some free training to increase qualification of at least one, maybe more officers, so they can be cooperating with the federal authorities, which is exactly what his resolution says we want to do. So I hope you will go listen with a new ear, and hopefully you'll hear it differently or accurately. More importantly, I want it to be accurate. I want the information you come back with to be accurate, because we as a council depend on accurate information. And a lot of times I have to find that information on my own. And that's okay. I'm not complaining. When I ran for office, that's what I said I'd do. That's what I'm going to continue to do. If anybody doesn't understand that about me at this point, they don't know me. So I will seek out that information from whatever source I need to make an informed decision. So absolutely go check it out. Exactly like Ms. Reed said, that's all we ever wanted. That's all we ever wanted. We just want good information, and we trust you, Chief, to bring that information back to us. In the meantime, I'm happy to support Chris Feraldi's resolution, and I want to keep people safe. Make that clear. I want to keep Lynchburg citizens safe, and I think you're committed to that. I have no doubt you're committed to that. This seems to be a way to do it. It's paid for. We make money off of it. They train us. They couldn't make it any easier, and it'll make our officers more qualified. They might leave because they're more qualified. Maybe that's what we're worried about. But I think more qualified officers in Lynchburg with better training can't be a bad thing, especially when someone else is paying the bill. So thank you for coming and talking to us. And I want to make sure everything I've said is intended to be as respectful and humble as possible.
Commissions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This will be the last because we've been on this half an hour.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. So I think it was November, December of 2024, Mr. City Manager, was the first time that I approached you about this. Does that sound right? So I think that this conversation has kind of maybe gotten to this point because it was kept out of the public view for quite some time. But I want to make it clear that I'm going to support Mr. Feraldi's resolution. I just don't think it goes far enough. And I am going to make sure that I get you that information to connect with them. And I appreciate all the work you're doing. But one thing that I want to make really clear from my standpoint, I believe that some of these decisions like this, because this is a contentious decision, I understand that, right? There are two sides to this. That's what the council is here for, is to make those decisions. So if a staff member has a preference about the policy issue of illegal immigration, that staff member's preference doesn't matter because the citizens elect council members to deliberate and have these discussions, and then a majority determines what that direction is. So I just want to be clear that if the council decides that this was the way the council wanted to go, that's on the council. That's not on the staff. But we shouldn't be using staff time and resources to try to push whatever a personal preference issue or whatever it may be on a contentious policy decision like this is as policy for the city of Lynchburg, because ultimately the policy for the city of Lynchburg should be decided by the 7 of us. We appreciate information. We want it to be accurate. And I think most of the time you do your best to bring us that information. But I know this is a hot button issue, but if we have the ability, and like you said, when they cross back over, if they've been deported once, it's a crime. That is the case with a lot of illegal aliens. And giving that tool in our toolbox to our police officers, right, to be able to address that, to me, is it's at no cost, is really where a police officer or even our police department, I think, is a win-win for our citizens. And I think it's just another tool that we can use to keep our city safe. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the information you provided. I'm really glad that you're our police chief. And I just look forward to the next level you're going to take our department to, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney.
Mayor, Mayor, and I think I have my direction for the preparation of the resolution. We're coming back for another work session to revisit these items.
This one?
Well, the subject, the 287G, unless you all want to go.
This resolution should move forward. No,
Okay.
nobody's saying anything about this resolution being held back, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
go ahead and do this
Yeah, we're
resolution.
gonna do.
We do this resolution.
Okay.
And then we can
All right.
take up
Thank
this other
you.
one on the next one.
That works. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate you. And I know that you got a lot more knowledge than most of us, being FBI trained and all this good stuff. You know some stuff.
Yes, sir.
And I got your back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
Roll call.
I have one item on the agenda. It'll be considered in a business site briefing coming up. It is related to snow removal penalty from sidewalks.
Sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Reed?
I don't think I have anything. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Wilder?
There's a unity walk on February the 21st, 11 o'clock at Corner 5th and Federal. We need more unity in our community, so try to make it if you can. It's a walk. They normally walk from 5th and Federal to the Old City Cemetery and then walk back. Yes.
Ms. Timmer?
If
And
not, we cover
Mr.
up.
Feraldi's ice removal from sidewalks has taken place before the Unity Walk. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last meeting, where do I want to start with this? We have had an unprecedented weather event in our community. I have not seen snow on the ground for this long in some time, actually since I lived in Kansas, and especially not ice. I can't tell you how many citizens and constituents I spoke back and forth with about the difficulty of plows getting up ice in the roads. And so I do just want to first thank again city staff, our first responders, the nonprofit network that we heard from today that worked diligently to respond to citizens in this time of need. Whenever we have something that's unprecedented, Mr. Mayor, we see our blind spots and we see our weak spots, which is valuable. That's a very valuable part of the process. And so some items came to the surface, specifically concerns when it comes to our emergency services specialist, who I love, by the way. I think she's phenomenal, but residing full-time in Alabama, and what that would mean for us if an event happened that we didn't have time to prepare for. Communications around the EOC and its location. I know there's been some confusion, some back and forth around that. And so with that, I am a huge advocate of quality improvement practices. When I went through my EMS training at CVCC, that was one of the big things that we discussed, is the value of quality improvement. So this is my official roll call requesting the business item briefing that we have scheduled for our next meeting to have those discussions as a council and to receive staff input so that we can just improve those or continue those quality improvement practices. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
May I ask Ms. Timmer? I know that in having this roll call, it comes for the 24th. We're having that hot wash on the 17th, and it's appropriately named, right, to kind of scrub the different things, because you said unprecedented and some things that we learned. So that's happening the 17th, and then that will be bound into something that I can physically give to you guys. And so looking at one of the 2 meetings in March, if that's okay with you, that gives a little bit more time to have something for you guys to peruse and kind of review, rather than just a briefing or what have you. So you'll have a document, if you will. So we have it scheduled for the 17th of February, and then I'm proposing the first Tuesday in March, if that works, instead of the 24th of February.
All right, I'll correspond with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Mission?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a business item briefing request for the next meeting. I would like to have a look at what it would look like incrementally, maybe 125, 150, 175, 200, raising that threshold on the gross receipts tax. So I'd like to know what kind of, how many businesses would be impacted at each level, right, to raise that threshold. And, potentially what the dollar amount that looks like for us, and then have that kind of prepared, give us some options to then take for a vote to increase the threshold on the gross receipts exemption above 100,000. I think it's time. It's been a couple. When did we do the 100,000? Was that 2023? Yeah. So the value of the dollars went down, obviously, right? So I think it's time to start thinking about the value of the dollar in our citizens' pocket, right? By exempting a lot of our entrepreneurs and small business owners from that business license tax at moving that exemption up. I'd like to try to get to at least 150. So if we can have a business item briefing, see what that looks like, and then be prepared to take that for a vote in the next meeting, that would be great. Thank you.
Mr. Deemer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start by saying I'd really like to figure out how to get the speed limit on Leesville Road down to 35 miles an hour all the way from Timberlake all the way to Greenview Drive. There's a small section that takes up to 45, and I've requested several radar placements there, but I think it really makes sense, especially with the Wawa and the Centra and the developments, the 9 new developments, and the fact we haven't done any traffic studies to really show us what's going on. At least for now, I think it'll save lives if we stay 35 the whole way through. So if we can figure out how to do that, somebody can explain to me what I need to do. Second off, Lynchburg black hole on the expressway. I found out from Mitch Knuckles tonight that was part of annexation, and that's why that happened. And I think that's makes sense because I was part of annexation, and I would like to figure out how we can light the black hole maybe someday. If somebody can maybe bring that to PD at some point. Finally, I would like to report on the streetlights situation, where a lot of people know I was out counting streetlights that are out in the city, found almost 500 of them out. Seemed like a systemic problem. Got a great presentation today in the physical development that staff provided and Appalachian Power provided. And we learned some things, but the main thing I would tell the citizens who are paying attention, I was told by Appalachian Power that all the lights that are broken will be fixed by the end of this month. So I wanted to report that happy news, because that is good news. I have seen them work, and I know they're trying hard to get us backlit again. So that was awesome.
Okay, thank y'all. Our next meeting is at, yes, sir.
I got one thing I meant to mention, if that's okay.
Quickly.
Mr. City Manager, just to make sure you probably should stop using your token since 2022, since I've been getting emails from you, Team Lynchburg phrase, because you wouldn't want to get accused of political campaigning. So I just want to let you know that. Thank you.
Oh, I do have a question, actually. Sorry. With the request for changing the business tax, that would be a budget question, and that should be something we're talking about going into the budget, not changing something in the middle of the year. So I think you bring it back for our.
I made my request.
Business item.
Councilman agreed. I have a right to make the request.
I'm not arguing with your request. I'm just saying that would be a budget question.
No, it's not. It's a question about policy. I've had the request.
Absolutely, but that's a budget item. So
not a budget item.
it is.
Next meeting, 7 o'clock downstairs, City Council.